Through malicious threats and insidious persuasion, you successfully manipulated Andrei, the third prince of the Kralik Kingdom, completing the overthrow of a national-level organization. Your silver-level badge usurper has met the conditions for advancement. However, since you chose not to seize power in the Kralik Kingdom and instead opted for its complete destruction, aside from normally advancing to a gold-level badge Unjust Pretender, an additional hidden optional path, Slaughter King Blackhand, will be added. After much consideration, you chose the hidden path, advancing your silver-level badge usurper to a gold-level hidden badge Slaughter King Blackhand. Slaughter King Blackhand, a mysterious figure with the goal of destroying major kingdoms, a hidden mastermind in the shadows, passionate about stirring upheaval across the world, seemingly harboring some enormous ambition. Equipped effect: when you ambush an enemy target with royal family status and are not discovered by the target or any witnesses, your attack will have a 100% fatal effect. During illegal activities, efficiency and concealment will be greatly improved. The possibility of being exposed when plotting a conspiracy will be greatly reduced. The likelihood of being discovered when deliberately hiding your identity will be greatly reduced. When proactively hidden behind the scenes, it will be very difficult to find conclusive evidence proving you participated. Advanced path: after completely overthrowing all existing human kingdoms, this badge will automatically advance to the exotic-colored hidden badge Grand Curtain King, Iron Black. Hidden trait: no need to wear. Although you are cautious, detailed, and cunning, your concealment is extremely perfect. Yet those inherently suspicious and extremely vigilant conspiracy theorists can still sniff out the dark aura hidden within you. This badge seems to be of little use. It might even lead to unwarranted suspicion, but in some special circumstances it might come in handy. All in all, it's just passable? Good. 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 Just as Leon was inspecting his newly acquired badge, looking at the distant palace melted into molten iron, and the Kralik Kingdom burned to ashes by sunset, the white snake parasitic in Prince Andrei's soul couldn't help but laugh in rage. After shouting "good" 3 times, unable to protect the Kralik Kingdom nor extinguish the royal bloodline, the mission completely failed. The white snake didn't say another word, directly severing from Andrei's soul. With its departure, the 3-colored blood bead on Andrei Prince's brow shattered loudly, and the snake's scale patterns entwined on his soul vanished without a trace. Subsequently, not far off, the unconscious Phylea moaned, her dark raven feathers quickly receding, revealing her originally fair and delicate skin. Phew, it's finally over. After checking the status of the fallen siblings of the ruined kingdom, confirming they've escaped the control of the Blood Oath, Leon let out a long breath, then squatted beside the fallen Prince Andrei, announcing, "The White Snake has left already. You two managed to escape the Slaughter King's retribution. What do you plan to do from now on? Our matters aren't urgent." Looking at the Kralik Kingdom he personally destroyed in front of him, Prince Andrei remained silent for a while before asking, "And the 1.3 million citizens? I'll contact the Cleanup Bureau to resolve it." Leon responded earnestly. Roughly 5 or 6 hours later, the director of Scorpio will wake up. By then, I'll have him contact the Cleanup Bureau to procure necessities like food and water. These resources might not be abundant, but no one will starve or freeze to death. As for the memory of these 1.3 million people, it'll likely be collectively altered by the Can of Fantasy, making it appear you predicted natural disasters like earthquakes, tsunamis, or volcanic changes, then notified all citizens for a collective preemptive evacuation. Regarding their future, I, as Prince of Lutung, will represent the kingdom to accept their joining. If things get really tough, the Scorpio branch still owes me a huge favor, so they might help persuade the Kingdom of Orlesen to accept a small portion. Although costs might be high short-term, for our 2 kingdoms with nearly 100 million in population, accommodating 1.3 million from Kralik Kingdom is manageable. Manageable? Are you sure? Upon hearing Leon's words, Prince Andrei, fatigued and lying on the ground, couldn't help but roll his eyes. Among Kralik Kingdom's 1.3 million citizens, there are over 20,000 scholars, more than 60,000 elite soldiers, and countless skilled craftsmen and technicians in various fields. Even the homeless, who've always drained the kingdom's finances, received at least 3 to 5 years of basic education. A little training would turn them into quite competent labor forces. Once you bring them back, the first princess who recently usurped power in your kingdom will likely wake up smiling from a dream. Then Ningku would sell the palace to fund costs, accepting all these burdens heartily without sharing a single hair with the Orleson kingdom. Forget it, as long as you have a plan. Considering Leon had rescued Philea and slapped him awake, Prince Andrei remained silent, opting to suppress his urge to retort, closed his eyes and said, "I'd appreciate if you treat them kindly since it's our royal family. I am the one who let them down. Also, after what happened to Philea, I am certain the cleanup bureau will rigorously protect her. But I still hope you give her some freedom. Don't let her become a caged green bird. I'll suggest to the bureau to ensure Philea's safety without restricting her freedom." In Prince Andrei's final words, hinting some nuances, Leon nodded in agreement and somewhat surprised, asked, "Andrei, don't you plan to live with her? The machine for creating the physical body you used, I had it stolen by Senior Alger earlier. Although your soul is severely injured, weakened by 70 to 80%, it was once true god level with a solid foundation strong enough. Repairing the body should allow you to live for several more decades. I choose not to live." Prince Andrei glanced at the unconscious green-eyed girl, filled with lingering affection, then pulled his collar aside to show Leon the snake scales on his neck. When the white snake left, it meddled with my soul, subjecting it to constant pain that will slowly disintegrate. If I enter the realm of the dead now, relying on my soul's intensity and obduracy, I might reach the city of regret. But if I wait decades, allowing my soul to weaken further, I fear I may never reach it. Do you still plan to reach the city of regret? Yes. Prince Andrei nodded, his expression somewhat forlorn as he said, "However, if the white snake didn't lie, and their people are indeed in the realm of the dead, then I may not make it to the city of regret." "That's hard to say." Leon hesitated for a moment before offering, "If you're truly ready to die, determined to go and apologize, then I might actually have a way to get you there." After hearing Leon's words, Prince Andrei couldn't help but be stunned, his emerald eyes full of doubt. After all, when it came to going on a suicide mission, Leon had already tricked him once. Before pulling his soul out, Leon was full of talk about connections, having many acquaintances, and don't worry. But once Prince Andrei gave up resisting, those promises immediately changed to, "Don't say you know me. Just say I killed you. Tell others we are sworn enemies." It's obvious which of these two statements is more trustworthy. And in the underworld, where Leon had enemies everywhere to the point where even mentioning his name could get someone implicated, he claimed to be confident that in spite of the White Serpent's revenge, he could still get him to the city of regret. Seriously, this isn't a joke? Relax. I'm not teasing you this time. Feeling a bit awkward under Andrei's doubtful gaze, Leon coughed slightly and explained, "Besides, in the underworld, I do have quite a lot of connections and acquaintances, just that my acquaintances might not be the kind you understand. Forget about it, I won't go into that. In any case, if you're absolutely determined to make it to the city of regret no matter the cost, then I do have a way. Might even help you slip through, so don't move just yet." Under Prince Andrei's shocked gaze, Leon's reddish soul quickly detached from his body, and he began to rub his hands on his body, smearing those yet-to-dry bloodstains. What are you doing? Don't move. Although this thing may be a bit dirty, it'll ensure you pass through the gate of the deceased." After dipping his hands in the endlessly liquid blood of the three-headed canine deity and smearing it over Prince Andrei, turning him into a little red person, Leon nodded in satisfaction and explained to the bewildered Andrei, "Once you reach the entrance of the underworld, if the Reaper guarding the gate of the deceased wants to take advantage of your weakened state to consume you, just tell it you were sent by a guy named Leon. If it dares to eat even a strand of your hair, once I'm done with my business, I will find time to sneak into the underworld and devour it alive, along with its kin and descendants, and every moving thing in its domain. I will eat one for each one there is." Are you sure this method will work? Rest assured, the Reapers, most of them have seen me dining, and all you need is to say what I've taught you. It'll work for sure. So what exactly do you look like when you're dining? Enough to frighten those emissaries of the Death Dominators? Moreover, aside from the gatekeeping Reaper, the biggest trouble for you would probably be the corporeal doe among the overlords of the Dead Realm. Without addressing Prince Andre's confusion, Leon continued. That doe is the holder of the Lake of Hidden Garb, the Corpse Soil Black Forest, and the Baigu Palace, also a member of your Slaughter King Association. As a traitor to the Slaughter King Association, when you go there, it certainly won't let you pass and will kill your soul at the locations it holds. The overlords of the underworld, how powerful are they? The difference in levels among the overlords of the underworld is quite large. Leon pondered for a moment and then replied, there are many special locations in the underworld, like the City of Regret, the Nest of Crows of Death Report, and Baigu Palace. Those true gods of the Netherworld who can control these special locations are called the Underworld Dominators. Among them, the weakest are equivalent to the three-headed canine deity who used to guard the gate of the deceased, true god lowest level, and the strongest among them are about the level of the Pillar God, almost impossible to kill when alongside their controlled special locations. The corporeal doe alone controls 3 special locations, making it the most formidable among the non-Pillar God level ones. So, the cream of the true god crop. Upon hearing this, Prince Andre couldn't help but give a bitter smile, a trace of barely detectable despair flashing in his eyes. At his strongest, with the aid of the world's fragments, he barely crossed the threshold of a true god. Now, with his soul decomposed by 70 to 80%, he probably can't even handle a second-level cleaner, let alone meddle in the affairs of top-tier true gods. Don't worry, you shouldn't need to confront it directly. After signing his name in dog blood on Prince Andre's chest, Leon let go of his overcoat and began a vigorous scribbling on the moon-white midcoat, then opened the midcoat, smearing the deep blue innerwear with dog blood. Feeling uncomfortable from Leon's strange actions, Prince Andre managed not to dodge but still inquired with difficulty. What are you doing? Leaving a message. While doodling with his hand, Leon instructed without lifting his head. When you reach the corporeal doe's territory, if it gives you trouble, open your overcoat to show it the midcoat, telling it that if it kills you, the director of the Virgin Branch will immediately get drunk again, and like last time will vent his drunken trouble on it. If any other overlords of the Dead Realm come by following your scent and intend to cause you trouble, just follow my original advice. Tell them you're killed by me, and we have a deep-seated enmity. If that makes no difference, show them your underwear. If denied entry, show others my underwear? Sounds truly perverted. Nodding awkwardly, Prince Andre curiously asked, what did you write on my inner underwear? Just a little threat. Leon chuckled and said, if they don't let you pass, I'll off myself before the canine deity resurrects, taking its place to guard the underworld gate and gorge on whatever's in its domain on a daily basis. Ah, it's just a last resort, not guaranteed to work, so unless it's critical, try to avoid stripping. After buttoning up the blood-lettered clothes on Andre, Leon pulled him up and then, amidst a fog full of deathly aura, gave him a strong shove towards the distance where the gate of the deceased stood. Go on. Safe journey. Wait, why do you? Whoa! As Andre started to question again, Leon pushed him off balance, and when he steadied himself, he found himself standing outside the opened gate of the deceased, lined up with a group of wailing deceased souls. And outside the tall, blood-stained gates, an extraordinarily large fish tank stood, with several hideous fishes possessing huge eyes growing out of their mouths and mouths where their eyes should be. They soaked in the murky water, nagging truculently through the tank. Move along. Don't dawdle. Yes, yes. Annoying. So many reapers. Why are we on duty? Yeah. Say, we wouldn't run into that feeding maniac like that stupid horse did, would we? Shut up. Wait. Seems like a powerful soul is coming. So fragrant. Here it comes. under the piercing gaze of dozens of singular eyes growing out of mouths. Feeling the immense pressure, the extremely weakened Prince Andrei felt a chilling sensation run down his spine, silently praying in his heart that Leon's method would work. However, before he could speak and relay Leon's threat, the monstrous fishes who recognized the blood on his body all screamed, broke out of the tank with a crash, and fled rolling and scrambling away while sprinting with two fish fins like humans. Run! The food god is hungry again. Help, help! Ladies and gentlemen, the matter of the Kralik Kingdom has reached the point of no return. As Prince Andrei, the traitor of the Slaughter King Association, embarked on his final journey in confusion, the previously furious White Snake had already gathered all the official members of the Slaughter King Association. After briefly recounting his observations, he spoke, his voice slightly cold. Our plans over the years have been completely destroyed by that Level 3 cleaner. Not only did he save the defected Black Owl and Xue Xiao, but he also completely destroyed one of the 13 kingdoms, the Kralik Kingdom. Including the previous incident at the Iron Palace, this marks the second time he has disrupted our plans. In my opinion, we have previously underestimated Leon Lane. His danger level should be immediately elevated. I think so too. As soon as White Snake finished speaking, Dongya, sitting to his left, nodded in agreement and somewhat reluctantly said, "This Leon Lane is indeed peculiar. The Scorpio branch sent almost all its cleaners who were nearly annihilated, and with the director under control, I seriously don't understand how he managed to turn the tables." Indeed. Sitting opposite Dongya, the slender Black Cat sighed and nodded. The previous Iron Palace incident can be attributed to our lack of preparation, acting hastily with many loopholes which he exploited. There was nothing we could do. But in the case of the Kralik Kingdom, 99% of the royal family members were already dead. The remaining 2 were our unofficial members, each burdened with 3 extremely targeted blood oaths. It seemed impossible to lose. Moreover, even in such an already secure situation, to be safe, we paid a huge price to forcibly send White Snake's power down, helping Black Owl control the Scorpio Bureau Chief. Yet even after doing so, we still couldn't sever the royal bloodline. Even the deceased cleaners, he pulled back from the realm of the dead, and the Kralik Kingdom was destroyed in one fell swoop. This man is truly outrageous. Indeed, this man is really... We must elevate the importance we place on him. I think so too. This man is too peculiar. Since none of you oppose, let's decide on this matter. With unanimous agreement from the members of the Slaughter King Association, White Snake at the head made the decision. From now, the importance placed on Leon Lane, the Level 3 cleaner of the Virgin Branch, will be elevated 2 levels, treated as a director of the 12 Zodiac Branch offices, and all intelligence on him should be gathered comprehensively. Always watch for any unusual movements. Moreover, in all future plans, if there is potential for direct contact with him, actions are absolutely not allowed without authorization. A meeting must be convened immediately, all official members notified, and decisions made after deliberation. Agreed. This is how it should be. No objections. So, the first resolution of today's meeting is unanimously passed. After making the decision, White Snake turned his head to look at Black Cat on his right, warmly inquiring, "How are the affairs in the Witch Kingdom that you are in charge of? Is the situation still stable?" To be honest, it's not looking very optimistic. Upon hearing the question, Black Cat sighed helplessly and answered, "The situation in the Mephala Kingdom is relatively stable. The Grand Witch King will die of old age shortly, but the Pisces branch has been very active lately, not only strengthening the guards of the Grand Witch Court but also holding dozens of large-scale rituals. If I am not mistaken, the people from the Pisces branch have likely realized that the Grand Witch King's daughter is a decoy we arranged, and are probably using these soul rituals to search for the real princess of the Witch Kingdom. And what about you?" White Snake frowned, his expression slightly displeased as he pressed on. "Your ball of yarn society has been expanding in the Mephala Kingdom for many years, searching extensively for so long. Yet you still haven't found that missing princess? That's different." Black Cat shook her head. "The Pisces branch can search openly, But to avoid attracting the attention of the cleanup bureau, I can only act secretly. How can my efficiency compare to that of the Pisces branch? What I can confirm now is that the real princess of the Witch Kingdom is still alive and did not die in that attack years ago, but instead found a way to hide to avoid being targeted by us again. I see. After listening to Black Cat, White Snake couldn't help but sigh. So, you have no good news either, is that right? Actually, there is some good news. After pondering for a moment, Black Cat replied somewhat unsurely. Some of the people we sent to attack her years ago were from the Pisces branch, so she doesn't trust the cleanup bureau. Over the years, she has never contacted anyone from the bureau and has been avoiding the Pisces branch's search at all costs. Moreover, as she is indeed a talented witch with abilities near the level of a small division director in the cleanup bureau, the larger the commotion the Pisces branch makes to find her, the deeper she will hide. Although we cannot find her, neither can the Pisces branch. That's not exactly good news. Upon hearing this, White Snake frowned and reminded, even if the cleanup bureau cannot find her whereabouts, as long as she continues to live, she can maintain the strength of Watcher's Palace. Only by killing her can our plans be truly successful. Don't worry, there will be an opportunity. Facing White Snake's reminder, the woman with the black cat mask paused in silence, then responded calmly. Someone from my Ball of Yarn Society recently received an audience with the Grand Witch King, who is now 138 years old and considerably weaker than in previous years. It seems she will die of old age in another year or two at most. And at this time, as the Grand Witch King's only daughter, the hidden princess, regardless of her patience, will definitely find a way to return to see her mother for the last time. As long as my people continue waiting in the Grand Witch Court, there will definitely be a chance to catch her trail. All right, as long as you have confidence. Somewhat satisfied with Black Cat's answer, White Snake nodded slightly, then glanced at the empty seat opposite Black Cat, which bore a Flower Fox mask, and proceeded to ask, Flower Fox, what about the Aquarius director? How is his preparation going? Does anyone know? His progress should be fine? Upon White Snake's inquiry, Dongya opposite Black Cat hesitated for a moment, then replied with some uncertainty. After Leon left on the dirigible, he immediately returned to the royal capital and prepared a lot of things, supposedly targeting the woman from the Virgin branch. According to the Aquarius director, he has found a way to deal with the Virgin branch, just waiting for Leon to return. Just waiting for that Leon to return? After listening to Dongya's account, the eyebrows behind the White Snake mask furrowed slightly. Then he inquisitively asked, Did Aquarius tell you, specifically, what he plans to do? I asked, but he wouldn't tell me. With a look of helplessness, Dongya replied, He only told me that the woman from the Virgo branch, although she has almost no weaknesses, her most important defensive abnormal object was ultimately crafted together by Aquarius and Taurus. And as one of the creators of that set of defensive abnormal objects, although Aquarius didn't leave any apparent backdoor, there is still a way to slightly circumvent that set of defensive abnormal objects. According to the information provided by Aquarius, to deal with that red-haired woman, one must first resolve her defensive abnormal object, so overall what he said equates to saying nothing. Pondering over the possible actions of the Aquarius director, but no matter how much he thought, he was still clueless. The White Snake had to continue asking with furrowed brows. Did he ever tell you why he's been fixated on the Virgo branch? Shouldn't his ultimate goal be to replace the director of Taurus and successfully ascend to the Watcher's Palace? What's the use of always targeting that woman from the Virgo branch? That he did mention. After thinking for a moment, Dongya replied, He means that even if no one from the 12 Zodiac branch offices goes, when Taurus ascends to the palace, there will be at least 3 directors protecting him, and there's definitely no chance of succeeding through direct confrontation, so another method must be considered. And this other method, did he still not tell you a word about, and we still only know that he intends to target the Virgo branch, right? If nothing can be found out, then let it be. After all, the Aquarius director is not aligned with us, and his goals differ entirely from those of the Slaughter King Association. He can do as he pleases, as long as he remains opposed to the cleanup bureau. Dongya. Just as the white snake shook his head helplessly, the black cat, who had been listening, suddenly called out and then asked, "Previously, you told us that Aquarius mentioned he had already found a way to deal with the Virgo branch and was just waiting for Leon to return. What exactly does this mean?" "Ah!" Startled by the question, Dongya asked, somewhat perplexed. "Is there something wrong with this statement?" "No, there is indeed something intriguing about this statement." After Black Cat's inquiry, the white snake on the main seat seemed to realize something and began to speak thoughtfully. From the literal meaning, it suggests he, who holds a grudge against Leon, is waiting for Leon to return to the royal capital to capture him and the entire Virgo branch in one fell swoop. However, upon further consideration, another possibility emerges. Perhaps Leon himself is a part of his plan to deal with the Virgo branch. Only when Leon returns to the royal capital can his plan be implemented. Achoo! After letting out a massive sneeze, Leon, whose nose had been inexplicably itchy, rubbed his nose and couldn't help but quietly complain. "Hasn't the expected time passed already? Why hasn't Director Edward woken up yet? Sorry to keep you waiting." Hearing Leon's complaint, a green-eyed girl kneeling beside the Scorpio director turned back and said apologetically, "The director's soul suffered a severe injury and has been greatly disturbed, so it will likely take a while longer for his soul to fully awaken." Mona is right. At this moment, another green-eyed man nodded and quickly ripened 2 sunflowers, taking the seeds from them and eagerly handed them to Leon. "If you're bored from waiting, you can snack on some sunflower seeds. Don't worry. This kind of black sunflower is a specialty of our kingdom of Orleson. Delicious even when eaten raw without roasting." "Ah, thank you, Reuben Sr." Unexpectedly overheard, Leon felt a bit embarrassed, smiled a little, thanked him, and accepted the shiny black seeds, explaining with slight embarrassment, "I'm really not complaining about Director Edward. It's just that the 1.3 million citizens of the Kralik Kingdom are still waiting for arrangement, and the only abnormal object that can contact the headquarters is in Director Edward's hands. So I'm a bit anxious, sorry." No problem, we understand." Falth faced with Leon, who managed to pull him back from death's door in the realm of the dead, almost single-handedly turned around a mission that seemed utterly doomed, and even preserved the machine from Zone 1, helping him get a new body. Reuben's attitude couldn't have been better. Seemingly worried that Leon might get thirsty from the seeds, Reuben once again activated his abnormal object, ripening a peculiar shrub, picked the coconut-like fruit, cracked it open, and handed the juicy flesh to Leon, chuckling. "As for the issue of these 1.3 million people, you really don't need to worry too much. Before you spat out your soul, by leveraging a foundation of 60 Leon value points, we managed to hastily ripen over 50 acres of banana trees and coconut groves, enough for them to feast for at least a week. Plus, Frankie has already taken some people to fish at the harbor. His skill in this area is quite reliable, so even if Director Edward were to fall into a long slumber, those 1.3 million people will be fine." "Is Senior Frankie really that capable?" After hearing Reuben's reassurance, Leon curiously asked, "Can he fish enough to feed 30,000 people? Are there even that many fish around here?" No, you've misunderstood." The green-eyed young man waved his hand and explained with a chuckle, "It's my job to make sure these people are fed. Reuben's responsibility is to get some other essential supplies over, like warm clothes for the cold, medicines, tents for shelter from the wind and rain, that sort of thing." "Huh? You can fish those up too?" "He can fish up anything except fish." "Well, this sounds exactly like something a fishing enthusiast would do. Haha. Frankie's ability is always extremely useful in times like this." Seeing Leon's speechless expression, Reuben explained with a grin, "In our kingdom of Orleson's warehouse, there's a small pond that's an abnormal object. Thanks to the effects of that unreasonable pond, as long as the contamination value isn't exhausted, he can take any supplies from the kingdom's warehouse." "I see." Nodding in understanding, Leon was just about to ask more questions when he heard a joyous shout from behind. "Director? Quick, come." Director Edward has woken up. He's finally awake. Hearing the call from the female cleaner, Mona, Leon and his companion, who were having a casual chat, looked delighted, hurriedly put away their sunflower seeds, and quickly rushed over. After the initial disorientation, the Scorpio director's eyes immediately regained their sharpness. Gazing at the happy green-eyed girl beside him, then hesitantly asked, "Phylea, are you Mona? How did you end up like this?" Yes, I'm Mona." Seeing Director Edward recognize her immediately, Mona the cleaner nodded excitedly, then explained, "Our original bodies were destroyed, and we didn't have the time to cultivate them again. We had to use the old parameters from the machines and slightly adjust them to resemble the Kralik royal family, so we look different now." After explaining the reason for her appearance change, Mona continued excitedly, "Director, you're finally awake. A lot happened after you passed out. Even the Slaughter King Association's people showed up. Luckily, Sir Leon was there. He defeated Prince Andre, protected the bloodline of the Kralik royal family, persuaded him to betray the Slaughter King Association, and sent him to the realm of the dead. In short, we completed our mission." "The mission? Is it complete?" After listening to Mona's excited announcement, and seeing Leon and, presumably, Reuben approaching with their green eyes, the tense Scorpio director let out a long breath of relief, then wobbly stood up. "Thank you." After pushing away Mona's hand that tried to help him, the Scorpio director, whose soul still couldn't perfectly control his body, looked at Leon who, though energetic, couldn't hide his fatigue. With a complex expression, he whispered, "It's thanks to you this time. Without you, not only would the mission have failed, but Mona and the others and I might not have survived. I owe you one." "No need for such courtesy," Leon replied with a smile upon hearing this. "I was also part of this investigation mission. There's no owing or not. This was just my duty." "It's not about duty. You not only completed the mission but also saved our lives. And that's why I owe you." Persisting with his stance, the Scorpio director slowly steadied himself, then bit his lip with a serious expression and asked, "Where is Princess Phylea now? And Frankie, Nicole, and Alger? Did something happen to them?" "Don't worry, they're all fine." Understanding the Scorpio director's worries, Leon explained, "Princess Phylea is reassuring the citizens of the Kralik Kingdom, with Nicole and Alger protecting her to prevent any further incident during this time. And Elder Frankie just took some people to go fishing, expecting to return from the harbor after gathering supplies for 1.3 million people. Phew, they're all alive, that's good." Hearing that everyone was all right, the tense expression of the Scorpio director softened immediately, relieved he hadn't rejected the Sagittarius director's proposal, instead insisting on bringing Leon over. But upon hearing about Frankie's whereabouts and what he intended to do, an indescribable sense of immense terror, accompanied by a chilling sensation, shot up from his tailbone, prompting him to stammer, why so many supplies? And, didn't you complete the mission and save the Kralik royal family?" "Well." After a worried glance at the Scorpio director's raging soul, Leon couldn't help but chuckle awkwardly, then replied somewhat hesitantly, "I managed to save the royal family, but the Kralik Kingdom is gone." Director, are you okay?" "Don't lie down, Director." The headquarters of the Cleanup Bureau, inside a small conference room named Between the Sun and Shade. "Everyone, the Sagittarius director and I have gathered you here today because there are several very important matters that need to be communicated to you promptly." The main seat was vacant, and Mr. Taurus, sitting in the second seat, looked around at the 80 or more phantom images summoned below with a complex expression and announced, "Firstly, after the investigation by the Scorpio branch, it has been confirmed that the Gemini branch located in the Kingdom of Kralik has been completely destroyed. Nearly half of the members were either killed or imprisoned, and the rest were subjected to soul-level enslavement. Only the original Level 1 cleaner, Nicole Karolman, managed to escape unscathed. Oh! Although everyone knew that in the self-sealed state of the headquarters, Urgently summoning long-distance meetings with division leaders from all branches must indicate something major had occurred. The explosiveness of this news still caught everyone by surprise. Faced with such shocking news, although the division heads of all sizes couldn't whisper to each other due to their actual bodies not being present, looks of shock were still flying around, and some even secretly started private chats. Everyone, please keep quiet. After clapping his hands forcefully, cutting off all the private chats among the division leaders, Mr. Taurus said with a less than pleased expression, "You can discuss this matter among yourselves later. Right now, we need to deliberate on what to do about the vacancy of the Gemini branch. What should be done about the vacant Gemini branch?" Upon hearing Mr. Taurus's words, a slightly hunched phantom figure in the Yellow Road Zodiac 12 Division seats coughed twice before raising a hand and saying, "Mr. Taurus Boris, the division head of the Furnace branch, broke through 60 Leon value 20 years ago. He can be directly promoted to take the responsibility of rebuilding the Gemini branch." Upon hearing the words of the hunched phantom figure, the phantom images suddenly realized the solution, and they each raised their hands in succession and recommended, "Mr. Taurus, I recommend Anduin from the Sagittarius branch. I also recommend Boris from the Furnace branch. Mr. Taurus, the Compass branch self-recommends." Silence. Clapping his hands again, interrupting the various phantoms' recommendations, Mr. Taurus couldn't help but glance toward the Virgin branch's seats, then said, "The situation is a bit complicated this time. Simply choosing someone to replace won't work. Although most of the cleaners from the Gemini branch were saved, many of them participated in the rebellion initiated by the Aquarius director, committing numerous violations that need to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. Moreover, it's not just the Gemini branch that had problems. The third prince of the kingdom of Kralik, Andrei, also colluded with the Aquarius director, killing most royal family members. Forget it, Edward." After calling out to the Scorpio Bureau director, Mr. Taurus raised his hand to support his forehead, speaking with a look of exasperation. "You're the lead in this investigation mission. You talk about the kingdom of Kralik's situation. All right?" Upon responding, the phantom of the Scorpio Bureau director stood up, hesitated slightly, then frankly stated, "Everyone, the kingdom of Kralik is no more." Oh! A thunderous revelation from the Scorpio Bureau director caused all the phantom figures present to tremble simultaneously. Across from him, the red-haired director unconsciously widened his eyes, feeling a sudden surge of extreme foreboding. "Mr. Edward." After a long silence, the most initially recommended replacement figure, the hunched phantom figure, broke the silence first, exclaiming in shock, "Can you explain more clearly? What exactly happened to the kingdom of Kralik?" "The kingdom of Kralik has been utterly destroyed." The Scorpio Bureau director slightly bowed his head and said, "Although 1.3 million citizens remain, over 99% of the land has been completely incinerated. Virtually all royal family members are dead, and the only surviving princess has no intention of claiming the throne, surrendering on behalf of the Kralik royal family. The kingdom of Kralik is truly gone." This, even with some psychological preparation, upon hearing the outcome of the Kralik kingdom, everyone present couldn't help but draw in a sharp breath, with the initially speaking hunched figure with a face full of disbelief pursuing further, "Mr. Edward, could you please explain how, with your presence, the kingdom of Kralik still ended up utterly destroyed?" "Because I got careless and was ambushed, almost dying and then being forcibly controlled, where I ended up fighting our surviving cleaners. I was barely rescued and passed out, and when I woke up, the kingdom of Kralik was gone. Not only did I not help at all, but also added to the chaos. If explained like this, I might as well have directly died in the kingdom of Kralik." Just then, the Scorpio Bureau director's clothes were tugged, and a phantom figure appeared from behind him. "Division leaders, Mr. Edward is still recovering from his injuries, so I'll explain the rest." Having bowed slightly to the leaders, Leon, brought in by the Scorpio director, said, "I am also part of this investigation squad. This task was extremely dangerous because we faced formidable opponents not only in the Slaughter King Association targeting various royal families, but also in the royal family members themselves who should have been protected. Mr. Edward detected anomalies beforehand and deliberately split the team into 2 units. I was responsible for protecting the already rescued Princess Phylea and was fortunately left with the level 1 cleaner Alger, while he led a team in continued perilous reconnaissance. In the face of an ambush, he initially resisted control by the opposing side, buying time for Alger and me, and sharply noticed issues with the controlling methods, cleverly escaping enemy restraints through our mutual understanding. Ultimately, upon discovering tampering with his soul, he bravely risked soul damage, decisively becoming devoured by me to provide the crucial force allowing Alger and me to escape the crisis, leading to a successful turnaround. Those capable of reaching a branch position usually possess a reasonable level of intelligence. Therefore, upon hearing Leon's complete narration of the investigation mission, dozens of Phantom Division leaders exchanged glances, each seeing comprehension on the other's faces. So, rashly seeking achievements, caught in an ambush, tragically controlled, knocked out until the end? No matter how hard this newcomer tried to defend, in this investigation task, Edward was undoubtedly the hindrance, while the person who truly bore the brunt of the responsibilities probably was this newcomer he brought along. I see. After giving the newly emerged Leon a glance, then looking back at Edward, aware that a similar scenario might put them in Edward's shoes, the hunched phantom figure chose not to press further but decided to save face for Edward, nodding and stating, "Then Edward can't be blamed. This enemy was indeed particularly tricky, and to ensure the Watcher's palace remains unaffected, burning down the kingdom of Kralik was unavoidable. Edward." Calling out to Edward, the hunched phantom figure inspected Leon, whose face wasn't clearly visible behind the Scorpio director, expressing some curiosity. "The speaker earlier, he's a cleaner from your Scorpio branch, right? It seems he made significant contributions this time. Can you introduce him to us?" "Forget it, what's meant to come will come." After listening to the stooped shadow's inquiry, the Scorpio director couldn't help but bite their cheek forcefully and then, under the extremely joyful gaze of a certain red-haired woman, reluctantly spoke. "The person behind me is Leon Lane, a level 3 cleaner sent by the Virgo branch to support us. Thanks to his help, this investigation task could barely be completed." "Leon Lane? Isn't he the one who consumed the Guardian Death's dog?" Upon hearing this recent famous name, the stooped shadow's expression froze slightly, and then immediately retracted the look of admiration on their face, nodding awkwardly and saying, "No wonder, it's that genius cleaner we only see once in a decade. I remember it was him who exposed the Aquarius director's plot back then. The Virgo branch office led by Olivia is indeed full of talents. So. Actually, he's not that great. Ha ha ha." Upon seeing the charge for the destruction of the Kralik kingdom being taken on by the Scorpio director, and neither herself nor the Virgo branch being implicated, even gaining quite a reputation, the red-haired director, laughing so hard, wished she could immediately pull Leon over and plant a big kiss on him. What I thought was indeed correct. Leon's proper use is to handle fieldwork. By sending him out on fieldwork, he could rely on his outstanding competence to successfully resolve matters smoothly, crazily boosting the reputation for herself and the entire Virgo branch, while the troubles he stirred during his task could all be thrown out for others to bear. "Ah, this is really so delightful. All right, quickly rein it in for me." After glaring at the overly cheerful red-haired director, the headache-plagued director of Taurus spoke again. "In any case, the Kralik kingdom is now gone, and even the original territory has been burned to the ground. The Gemini branch, originally supposed to be built in the Kralik kingdom, can only be rebuilt elsewhere. Do you have any suggested locations? Can't we rebuild on the original site?" The Pisces branch's director stood up and proposed. "The citizens of the Kralik kingdom are still around, and the Kralik royal family has a direct descendant alive. Even if that princess isn't planning to inherit the royal family, her husband or future children might. Moreover, the area of the Kralik kingdom wasn't large initially. The core territory was only as big as one city. With our support, rebuilding a Kralik kingdom shouldn't be difficult, right? This task isn't hard. but the consequences would be very troublesome. Upon hearing this, the director of Taurus shook their head, and after explaining in more detail the 3 blood oaths of the Slaughter King Association and the current situation of the Kralik Kingdom, continued to explain. In summary, rebuilding the Kralik Kingdom on the original site might trigger the blood oath again. Even with our support, rebuilding the Kralik Kingdom would take a long time, at least 7 to 8 years, to initially restore the kingdom's scale. And the 1.3 million citizens of the Kralik Kingdom, although we can support them, continually maintaining them through abnormal methods for 7 or 8 years may result in a plethora of abnormal incidents arising. Under the current urgency for the Gemini branch's rebuilding, we lack the manpower and time to clear these newly emerging anomalies one by one, which would inevitably lead to a large number of casualties, making this plan unsuitable. Then, how about merging all the citizens of the Kralik Kingdom into the nearby Mabus city-state? This way it wouldn't count as original site or citizens, and we wouldn't have to worry about triggering the blood oath. Following that, by promoting the original Mabus city-state to the Mabus Kingdom, it essentially equals the rebuilding of another Kralik Kingdom, and Gemini branch will have a place to be rebuilt. Lord Pisces, this might not be advisable. Upon hearing this, not wanting to let anyone hijack the final decision, Leon had to step forward and say, although Mabus city-state is quite close, it's still a city-state, not a kingdom, and the limited population and land cannot accommodate the 1.3 million citizens of the Kralik Kingdom. Furthermore, the 6th Princess Phylea, who remains, along with the citizens of the Kralik Kingdom, have their thoughts regarding their future, and there's no plan to rebuild the kingdom. The Gemini branch would be better off selecting another place. Leon is right. Such a plan indeed doesn't suit. After Leon finished speaking, although not entirely sure what exactly he was eyeing, the red-haired director cleared their throat, immediately standing up to support. Not to mention whether Mabus city-state would want the citizens of the Kralik Kingdom to join. The blood oath alone is very concerning. I think it's best not to rebuild any kingdom based on the original citizens of the Kralik Kingdom. As for the new Gemini branch's location, let's simply choose Mabus city-state. As for upgrading it to a kingdom, forget it. After all, there's no rule stating that the Zodiac branch office must be in a kingdom. It can be in a major city-state. In that case, this sounds pretty good. The director of the Pisces branch thought for a moment, then slightly nodded in agreement. Mabus city-state's total population is roughly 5 times that of the Kralik Kingdom. It should have a mid-small branch office to handle the potential anomalies around it. The reason a branch wasn't established before was because Mabus city-state was too close to the Gemini branch, plus the Kralik Kingdom's population was too small, so it was directly managed by the Gemini branch. Now moving the new Gemini branch there makes sense. Indeed, this arrangement is most appropriate. Seconded. I have no objections either. Alright, that's settled. As for specific personnel, we'll discuss once the cleaners at the Gemini branch wake up. After directly deciding the new Gemini branch location, the director of Taurus glanced at the relieved Leon and then at the smiling red-haired director, shaking their head helplessly, then reminded. Olivia, remember to notify the queen who will be succeeded, ensuring she prepares to receive 1.3 million citizens without any more mistakes. Additionally, the remaining 6th princess of the Kralik Kingdom will be temporarily under your protection. I will send some life-saving abnormal objects over later. For now, let her stay with you, and after some time as I ascend the palace, the headquarters unseal itself, we'll then proceed with the transfer. Any problem? No problem. Task will be completed. Is the moon full again? Raising her head from the pile of files, and looking at the bright moon outside the window, Princess Veronica rubbed her aching eyes, then glanced at the calendar filled with schedules on her desk. From Leon's diplomatic mission till now, it's been almost a month. Life seemed like stagnant water during his absence from the royal capital, truly lonely. Also, I recall prior emissaries mentioning how arrogant the people on the Kralik Kingdom side always treated foreign emissaries, even directly cursing them in the meeting room. I wonder if Leon will face grievances during this diplomatic mission. What did you say? Looking at the lazy young man in front of her with a face full of fatigue, Princess Veronica stood up from her chair in shock and asked, "Say it again? What happened to the Kralik Kingdom?" "The Kralik Kingdom is no more. All its land has been completely burned down, and the surviving 1.3 million citizens are preparing to join our kingdom. You need to be ready to receive them." After repeating the message the director asked him to convey, Tom, with two big dark circles under his eyes, added wearily, "The matter of accepting the refugees from the Kralik Kingdom was decided by Leon. By your prince." According to him, during his diplomatic mission to the Kralik Kingdom, he sensed internal turmoil within the Kralik royal family and, at the invitation of the sixth Princess Phylea, assisted in setting things right for the Kralik royal family. However, despite his efforts, he was still outnumbered and lacked manpower. Combined with a sudden natural disaster, he couldn't save the Kralik Kingdom, just barely managed to rescue the afflicted citizens of the Kralik Kingdom and a small portion of valuable facilities. Does that mean, during Leon's diplomatic mission, he managed to bring back all the essence of the Kralik Kingdom? After hearing Tom relay the situation, Princess Veronica couldn't help but take a deep breath, and a blush of excitement appeared on her delicate cheeks. "So, miracles do happen." "No, that's not the right way to put it. This gift wasn't a miracle but something Leon helped find for us. The effect of his diplomatic mission was simply, my goodness, how did he do it? It's still somewhat unbelievable that such a huge gift would land on the kingdom's lap with a thump." Feeling a bit dizzy with excitement, Princess Veronica had to reach out to support the desk and gradually sat back down, nodding slightly. "Understood. I will immediately arrange for personnel to prepare for receiving the citizens of the Kralik Kingdom to ensure everything goes smoothly. Mr. Tom, is there anything else Leon wanted you to convey?" "I don't think so." Frowning and recalling for a moment, the lazy young man shook his head and said, "That's all the director asked me to convey. Although not all are exact words, the meaning should not be missing." "Oh, right." A sudden recollection brought about the lazy young man to speak. "If there's anything else to say, it's just that he knows the kingdom's finances have been tight in recent years. With military and mining reforms imminent, money is needed everywhere, and accommodating 1.3 million people suddenly is a big burden. So, if the kingdom can't bear it, we can also cooperate with the kingdom of Orleson." "No need." Just like the prince who has embarked on the no-return path speculated. The moment she heard the word cooperate, Princess Veronica didn't hesitate for even a fraction of a second and immediately rejected it. The rescue of disaster victims is an unshirkable duty of our kingdom. It needs to be done even if the finances are tight. Mr. Tom, please convey to Leon that he doesn't need to worry about the kingdom's financial problems. Bring back as many people as there are. Even if I have to sell the royal palace to raise money, I will make sure to accommodate everyone. All right, I will find a way to convey it to him. Thank you very much." Politely thanking the lazy young man, and summoning the lady-in-waiting to see him out of her office, Princess Veronica, with a composed demeanor, let out a long sigh. Then she moved aside the stacks of documents piled like a small mountain on her desk, picked up a shiny little photo frame, and gave a fierce kiss to Leon's helpless expression in the photo, smiling radiantly with a self-murmur. "Let me make do with a kiss for now. The rest can wait until you return." Finally back. Walking down from the smoking ferry with the green-eyed maiden, Leon relaxed significantly as he stepped onto the dock of the Royal Capital Canal, feeling much more at ease. After being away on this mission for over a month, dealing with life and death struggles round after round, finally returning to familiar ground even made the previously annoying noisy world seem lovable. The ever-honking horns of the canal, the sour air lingering below the chimneys, the wooden deck so trampled it's hard to discern its original color. All of it was so familiar. Even the unfriendly pickpockets on the dock didn't seem as bothersome as before. After kicking down a pickpocket cutting a purse, and in the grateful outpouring of thanks from the victim, twisting the pickpocket over to the security office on the dock, Leon used the 5 copper will bonus from the security office to pay the fare and, with Phylea, boarded the carriage to the police department. The 1.3 million citizens of the Kralik Kingdom had already arrived at the internal port of Ryan County by ship and were undergoing initial resettlement. while his only task was to escort Princess Phyllia to the cleanup bureau and hand her over to the director, which marked the end of this investigation mission, allowing him the chance to apply for leave. Before leaving home, he had told Anna and the others that this time it would be a long period away, but it was his first time being away so long, and he wondered if they were getting used to it. Glancing at Phyllia, who was secretly grasping her skirt and appeared quite tense, Leon couldn't help but slightly raise an eyebrow. Though once the omnipotent Adify 01, without the core of intelligence, Phyllia was now just a 12 or 13-year-old child. The kingdom was like home to him, but to her, it was a completely unfamiliar place. Considering her identity as a former member of the Slaughter King Association and the last bloodline of the Kralik royal family, she was bound to receive strict protection from the entire cleanup bureau in the future, and even if he tried to plead on her behalf, she likely wouldn't enjoy any real freedom. This much she'd surely figured out, and faced with such an uncertain future, her mood was likely quite heavy, contrasting with his own. "Don't worry." Gently patting Phyllia on the top of her head, Leon looked into her eyes filled with unease, then comforted her warmly. "I will fulfill the promise I made to your brother. Although I can't give you complete freedom, you'll be protected, but not kept in prison-like conditions either. Moreover, the head bureau has been overwhelmed lately, so you'll likely stay in our Virgin Branch for quite a long time. Hearing Leon's promise, the green-eyed maiden responded softly, but instead of easing, the worry in her eyes seemed to increase. "So, she's not worried about the cleanup bureau, but about our Virgin Branch?" Through the subtle changes in Phyllia's expression, Leon astutely identified the source of her unease and raised an eyebrow in surprise, then spoke with some understanding. "Did you hear some rumors about our branch from others before?" "I suppose. I know a little bit." Knowing that Leon has the ability to detect lies, it's useless to make excuses in front of him. The girl with emerald eyes hesitated for a moment, then simply confessed. "When I was indirectly controlling the Gemini branch before, I saw a lot of their files, among which there were some records about your Virgin Branch. It said that most of what's written there should just be rumors." Leon shook his head indifferently and said, "Our Virgin Branch is rather unique. We have quite a few cleaners with distinct personalities, but everyone is basically a good person, not the kind of irredeemable scoundrels. If you don't believe it, look at me. I'm also from the Virgin Branch. Am I not normal?" "You? Normal? Would a normal person kidnap a princess on a mission? Would a normal person cut open the back of a princess's head with a knife? Would a normal person have me take a bus to deliver a coup speech? Could a normal person dismantle a kingdom in just over 2 weeks?" Unable to resist, she secretly raised her hand and touched the back of her head, which had been cut open by Leon before. The girl with emerald eyes couldn't help but shift her gaze away, nodding in fear. Yes, you're very normal." "How did you suddenly start speaking with hidden meanings? Who did you learn this from?" Looking at the girl with emerald eyes, who was inching her body away as if trying desperately to keep her distance, Leon opened his mouth and asked somewhat speechlessly, "Can I ask how that Gemini branch record actually described our Virgin Branch?" "That record just ordinarily described how you folks from the Virgin Branch carry out your tasks," Phyllia cautiously said. "For example, the Level 1 cleaner Emma Elman, nicknamed the Executioner, participated in 13 joint actions and accidentally injured 63 cleaners, with more than 600 civilians unintentionally harmed. Most of those victims were forcibly dragged into the Executioner's exclusive abnormal object, where they suffered through dozens of extremely cruel torture devices repeatedly over 20+ hours, enduring nearly 1,000 tortures, creating immeasurable psychological shadows. Some even almost had a complete breakdown of their souls after coming out. Wait, those people can't really be considered victims." Hearing this, Leon, who knew the specifics, couldn't help but speak up to explain for Emma. Emma's abnormal objects, many of them can distinguish between good and evil. Among them, Satisfying Scales discerns good and evil based on good thoughts and evil thoughts, while Coffin of Condemnation distinguishes based on good deeds and evil deeds. And those so-called victims, were basically driven by sinister intentions to commit evil deeds, causing severe consequences, and they committed serious crimes deserving of execution. That's why they were captured by Emma's abnormal objects, and they just got what they deserved. Is that so? Upon hearing this, the girl with emerald eyes breathed a slight sigh of relief, but she still remained somewhat skeptical and continued. And then there's Jerry Baker, the second-level cleaner known as the Sewer Emperor, and Amian Bellet, dubbed the Poison Plague Pharmacist. During a mission to eliminate the Baiyi sect, the former drove over 800,000 rats to bite tens of thousands of Monet City-State citizens, while the latter released a rancid toxic gas at the windward of Monet City-State, causing everyone to vomit and have diarrhea, clogging the sewers with excrement and vomit, flowing across the streets, even at one point covering the feet of pedestrians. This matter. I haven't heard Jerry mention it, but I can more or less guess what happened. After hearing the girl's account, Leon couldn't help but frown before speculating. The believers of the Baiyi sect love to hold rituals at night, summoning the nightmare messengers of the King of Nightmares, and by creating terrifying nightmares, they cause mass psychological trauma to nearby sleepers and permanently devour parts of the sleepers' souls. The reason Jerry did this was likely because he couldn't stop the Baiyi sect's ritual, so he had to let the rats disrupt the citizens, trying to keep people in the area awake. Being bitten a few times is preferable to having parts of their souls devoured, remaining sickly for life, or even bedridden. As for Amian, whom I'm not very familiar with, I've heard a bit about his ability. His potions have significant side effects, but their efficacy is actually impressive, generally able to nullify all abnormal states. So the rancid toxic gas mentioned in the records should be the mass distribution of a diluted disinfectant, aiming to prevent those bitten from contracting diseases like the plague. After all, compared to those highly fatal infectious diseases, a few days of nausea and diarrhea should be more tolerable. If that's the case, that makes sense? After listening to Leon's conjecture and cross-referencing it with the records she read, which aligned with the outcomes, the girl with emerald eyes let out a long breath. It seems that although what's written on the Virgin Branch is true, it's somewhat incomplete and peppered with the recorder's prejudices. The real Virgin Branch probably isn't as outrageous as the records suggest. I think I understand. That record is indeed biased, skipping over many details, so it can indeed be seen as rumor. Knowing now that the Virgin Branch she's heading to is merely a bit more individualistic, rather than a dragon's den and tiger's lair filled with madmen and murderers, Philea's previously tense expression eased considerably, even blinking her big eyes curiously as she speculated based on analogy. So your branch's scarlet hair lady often binge drinks during work hours, possibly to numb hidden enemies. She files erratic reports and embezzles funds, even borrows money without returning, but actually has a different private agenda. And when occasionally enraged, directly brawling with other branch leaders she has conflicts with, it's actually to test and uncover potential traitors like the Aquarius director. What's wrong? Why aren't you saying anything? Upon hearing this, Leon couldn't help but turn his head, avoiding the gaze of the girl with emerald eyes, and looked out the window at the whistling green winter cedars, his mouth twitching slightly, showing an indescribably complex expression. Yes, yes, exactly. Little Leon. Before Leon could knock on the door, the red-haired director opened the door to their office using their hair, raising a bottle filled with tea, laughing heartily. You did splendidly this time. After this investigation, Edward won't even make it to last place even if he takes down a descending true god this year. Ahahaha. Who would have thought he'd have his day of reckoning too? In the past, during year-end evaluations, he'd always be there with veiled sarcasm, using his ranking to ridicule me. Now it's finally my turn to ridicule him. So you're this happy because you can stand in the second-to-last place and mock the bottom-ranked first? Ahem ahem. Clearing his throat forcefully, after reminding his bureau chief to keep it together, Leon pulled the slightly dazed green-eyed girl into the office piled high with bottles, and introduced her. Chief, I've brought Miss Philea. Good job, good job. Having perhaps escaped the shadow of being at the bottom, the red-haired chief was in an exceptionally good mood. She nodded at Philea and then surprisingly praised her with a gentle smile. The little girl is quite pretty, and her soul talent is outstanding. She's also got a couple of remarkably powerful special abnormal objects in her possession. Are you interested in joining our Virgin Branch? Hearing the recruitment from the red-haired chief, Leon was slightly taken aback, while the green-eyed girl asked in surprise, "Can I become a cleaner? Why not? But I'm already the last direct descendant of the Kralik royal family, and I was once a member of the Slaughter King Association." Looking at the smiling red-haired beauty across from her, Philea said softly, "According to your cleanup bureau's usual style, shouldn't you strictly protect and monitor me to ensure I don't leave your sight?" "Indeed." The red-haired chief nodded at her words, then took a sip of tea from the bottle, speaking calmly. "But for now, aside from the already self-sealed headquarters, as long as you stay by my side, you are already at the safest place in the entire cleanup bureau." "Well, I'm impressed. You actually pulled that off." Seeing Philea awed by the strong confidence conveyed in the red-haired chief's words, her eyes showing a hint of admiration, Leon couldn't help but purse his lips, revealing a strange expression that seemed quite uncomfortable. Strictly speaking, what the chief said wasn't wrong. The abilities of abnormal objects vary widely. Even the mighty Scorpio chief has had repeated failures lately. However, with our chief holding the 32 guards, when fully activated without considering losses, she has roughly 99.8% resilience. Even if a bunch of people target her for death, they might only be able to restrain her slightly before she breaks free with force. Theoretically, there's no possibility of quickly resolving her. All conspiracy and plotting eventually turn into wrestling. Given that the Slaughter Bloodhair is said to have unparalleled physical destructive power, in terms of wrestling, there aren't many who can outmatch her, so she indeed has the right to be so bold. But while she is undeniably strong, she's also outrageously unconventional. Not only does she drink heavily during work hours, owes Emma a huge debt she's not repaying, and even within less than a week of my joining, she taught me how to write reports to scam funding, filled with numerous ridiculous antics. And considering Philea, due to the soul code, she's already somewhat not too sharp. If she chooses to accept the invite to join the Virgin Branch and then gets influenced by the chief's whims, you better behave. Don't ruin my good deeds. After giving Leon a warning look, indicating he should get rid of his odd expression, the red-haired chief maintained her strong demeanor and said with a calm face, "I've seen the protection procedures over at headquarters. Although they're slightly safer than mine, they're equally cumbersome. Once protected by them, even going out requires advance reports, and doing some private business involves having 8 cleaners on standby outside, monitoring what you're doing in there. But if you join our Virgin Branch, although you won't have complete freedom, you'll experience relative freedom. As long as you don't leave the boundaries of the royal capital, typically nobody bothers you. What do you think? Interested?" "As long as I don't leave the royal capital's boundaries, I'll have the freedom to move without surveillance?" Hearing the promise from the red-haired chief, Philea couldn't help but tighten her grip on her skirt, her green eyes showing a hint of excitement. While already prepared mentally to lose her freedom indefinitely in endless surveillance for the rest of her days, who wouldn't want more freedom? "I'm interested. Very interested." Quickly responding to the recruitment from the red-haired chief, the green-eyed girl nervously clasped her tiny fists and cautiously asked, "But the work of a cleaner seems quite dangerous. Will your headquarters really let me stay?" "Don't worry, that's not an issue." The red-haired chief waved her hand at her words, confidently replying, "Their biggest reason for refusing is nothing but security concerns, but I've already applied to Mr. Taurus for a protective-type abnormal object for you, which will arrive in at most 2 weeks. Aside from the basic undying body, there will be abilities like mandatory escape, soul protection, and crisis foresight, plus those pseudo-time abnormal objects hidden under your wrists, significantly reducing dangerous situations for you." Pseudo-time abnormal objects. Hearing the red-haired chief's words, Leon couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, then looked at the obviously startled green-eyed girl. Under her palms, just close to her wrists, there were 2 extremely tiny, elongated, ink marks. On a closer look, those ink marks revealed themselves as two miniature tattoos, with contents being two gemstone scepters of varying lengths. So that's it. After identifying those tiny tattoos, recalling Andre's farewell gesture of holding the green-eyed girl's hands, Leon suddenly realized, clicking his tongue inwardly. No wonder I spent 3 days almost overturning the Kralik Royal Palace and Research Area 1 but couldn't find the Scepter of Time Division. It turned out to be drawn on Philea's body. Rest assured, no one here will rob you of your belongings. Smiling at the panicked green-eyed girl, the red-haired chief continued with a smile. Philea, I personally look forward to your future accomplishments. With your qualifications and the abnormal objects you hold, becoming one of the 12 directors might be tough, but being a branch chief of one branch 20 or 30 years from now won't be hard. If you agree to join our Virgin branch, you needn't worry about headquarters attitude. I'll find a way to negotiate on your behalf to ensure a relatively free environment for you. And all it takes is a nod from you. I would love to. I'd really love to. Being thoroughly swayed by the red-haired chief's offer, the green-eyed girl nodded repeatedly. After sneaking a glance at Leon beside her, she asked softly, Once I join the Virgin branch, if I have to form a fixed-task team, can I choose my teammates? Or can I choose not to team up with someone specific? I don't even need to guess. You little brat are definitely hinting at something. Watching the green-eyed girl who was peeking while asking if she didn't want to team up, Leon couldn't help but look glum, regretting not having taken the chance to straighten her out earlier. Meanwhile, the red-haired director across from him propped his chin with his hand and replied with a smile. There's no problem at all. Although according to the Cleanup Bureau's policy, cleaners should ideally act in pairs or groups of 3. New recruits, in particular, must join missions with experienced cleaners to prevent getting killed right off the bat. But for one, your skills far exceed those of an ordinary newcomer. With so many abnormal objects in hand, it's almost impossible for you to be in any real danger. Secondly, our Virgin branch is severely understaffed. In the past, most missions were solo. Plus, you rarely leave the royal capital, so it's up to you whether to form a fixed team or not. Phew, that's good. However, I still highly recommend you form a semi-fixed team. After glancing at the green-eyed girl who seemed visibly relieved, the red-haired director knowingly blinked and then mischievously remarked, For example, Leon would be a great choice. Though he hasn't been with our Virgin branch for long, he's already taken many highly dangerous missions, with an almost perfect 100% completion rate. He's already at the level of a second-level cleaner. No. Utterly shocked, Philea hurriedly shook her head furiously. I'm fine on my own. I don't need a fixed team. That's fine. Teaming up is up to you. Encouraging the green-eyed girl with a few words and assigning her to the office diagonally across from Leon's, the red-haired director watched her happily leave and then turned to Leon, whose face was a mask of confusion, with a meaningful expression, and said with a grin, Oh, by the way, Leon, if I'm not mistaken, your Leon value has improved significantly recently and should now meet the criteria for a second-level cleaner. As there's an upcoming promotion opportunity, it's about time you considered advancing your rank. Promote to a second-level cleaner? Leon pondered the words slightly. The contamination value for a second-level cleaner is around 11 to 30 points, and during his mission in the Kralik Kingdom recently, he had devoured 3 seasoned second-level cleaners and even Scorpio's director for several hours. Although these souls were eventually expelled and not fully digested, they did leave some lingering effects, and his contamination value had skyrocketed to over 16 points. It's indeed time to consider the promotion to a second-level cleaner. All right. Nodding slightly, Leon curiously asked, Director, besides meeting the Leon value standard, are there any other requirements for advancing to a second-level cleaner? There are indeed some criteria. The red-haired director thought for a moment and then replied with a somewhat peculiar expression. Firstly, there's the need for a recommendation. Most second- and third-level cleaners aren't allowed to act alone. They'll typically be paired with more seasoned level 1 and 2 cleaners. For a promotion, you also need a recommendation from a cleaner of a higher level within your fixed team or the branch director of your division. Though you've gone on missions with Emma, Jerry, Nicole, Tom, and Peony, it can't be considered a fixed team, so the recommendation can only come from me as the branch director. Next is the number of tasks completed. The Cleanup Bureau grades tasks into 5 levels based on urgency. Level 1 incidents, Level 2 crises, Level 3 disasters, Level 4 falls, and Level 5 apocalypses. For Level 5 apocalyptic tasks, they're usually assigned to the Yellow Road Director, the 12 board members, and the General Director. For instance, our General Director, who has stayed behind on old soil, is handling a Level 5 task. Level 4 fallen tasks, depending on their danger, are managed by Elite Level 1 cleaners, small bureau directors, and the Yellow Road Director. Activities like the Demonic Soul Abyss and our recent mission in the Kralik Kingdom both fall into this category. Lastly, Level 1 incidents, Level 2 crises, and Level 3 disasters pertain to 3rd, 2nd, and 1st level cleaners. For promotion, they need to have completed tasks of their same level over 20 times or participated in tasks a level higher at least 5 times. Wow! With the team leader's recommendation and task number restrictions, did the person who set these rules watch Ninja Legends? Silently complaining in his mind, Leon recalled the task reports he submitted and then said in surprise, "Huh? If that's the case, then Aside from those tasks that are inconvenient to report, you currently have 12 task records. 3 are Level 1 incidents, 1 is a Level 2 crisis, 1 is a Level 3 disaster, and the remaining 7 are all Level 4 fallen tasks." After meticulously going through Leon's task records, the red-haired director couldn't help but sigh with both love and exasperation at his capable and trouble-prone deputy. Just in terms of task quantity for 3rd-level cleaners, you've set a bureau record. Indeed, as long as your Leon value breaks 31 points and with my recommendation letter, you could now take the preparatory branch director exam. Do I also have to take an exam at the headquarters if I want to be promoted to a 2nd-level cleaner? Leon frowned upon hearing this and then rather reluctantly said, "Director, I've been tied up with tasks for over a month. I just want to take a break for a few days. How about I skip this exam and catch the next one?" Don't do that." Seeing that Leon seemed ready to drop it, the red-haired director quickly persuaded. "These promotion exams are only held twice a year, and if we don't have enough participants, it might only happen once every 2 years. If you miss this one, you'll have to wait until the second half of the year or, if unlucky, possibly 1 or 2 more years. Besides, the number of participants in this promotion exam is the highest in 30 years. 61 out of 87 branches will be sending people, with over 400 cleaners from levels 1, 2, and 3 combined. It'd be such a shame to miss it." "Got it, you just want me to go show off for you." Figuring out his director's intentions in no time, Leon couldn't help but complain. "Director, it's not that I'm arrogant, but given my circumstances, I'm a bit different from typical 3rd-level cleaners. Having me take this kind of exam is a bit unfair to others. Do you have another motive?" "Oh, come on now, you can't call that unfair, can you?" Knowing he couldn't hide his intentions from Leon, the red-haired director simply gave a sly blink and innocently spread his hands, saying, "The cleaners taking this promotion exam have all been with us for over a year. Some are old hands who've tried for 5 to 6 years. Even though your task records are a bit exceptional, you've only been with the Cleanup Bureau for a little over 3 months, so you're definitely a newbie. Isn't it perfect for you to take the exam with them? Tell me the truth." Several cleaners participating from this exam are jumpers from our bureau. After pouting and sharing the truth, the red-haired director clenched a fist and waved it in the air before fiercely saying, "Just go slap their faces for me, and I'll give you a raise when you return. The harder the slap, the bigger the raise." How did this even become about a salary increase? Feeling speechless at the tempting offer proposed by the red-haired director, Leon couldn't help but complain. "Director, this isn't about getting a raise. Given my situation, it's really not very suitable for me to participate in this kind of examination. As long as you get 1st place, I'll increase your salary by 6 gold wheels. It's not about how much of a raise it is either." Leon said helplessly. The results will definitely be reported to the headquarters after the examination, right? If the director of tourists sees my name in the results, it would be too embarrassing. I'll increase it by 12 gold wheels. I've already said it doesn't matter how much the raise is, but if it's 12 gold wheels, weekly or monthly? Weekly. If it's on a weekly basis. Thinking about the delighted smile Anna involuntarily showed when she received his paycheck, and the sense of relief and security that radiated from her, Leon's expression visibly wavered. Although with his current status, he could simply ask Princess Veronica for money and it would never be an issue. He always got teased when he saw her. Plus it felt somewhat like he was mooching off her, so a salary increase was quite tempting. The main issue was that he and Anna had been poor for so long, having only been wealthy for a little over 3 months and hadn't fully adjusted to their current lifestyle. Even knowing they wouldn't lack money in the future, they were in the habit of saving and not wanting to spend, even keeping a tight rein on William and Melanie's allowance. The problem was they attended a noble elementary school where their classmates' families were all wealthy or noble, each with very good conditions. Although the two little demons didn't care about that, seeing them being so frugal made Leon, their elder brother, feel a bit guilty. His original weekly salary was already 12 gold wheels, and after the increase it would be 24 gold wheels per week. With that, Anna would probably feel more at ease, and he might be able to give those little rascals a bit more pocket money. This offer was too good to pass up. Faced with the enticing offer of a 12 gold will per week pay raise, and the thought of his siblings' happy smiles, Leon, who had just completed a coup and destroyed the entire Kralik kingdom a little over a week ago, capturing 1.3 million citizens, finally chose to give in. If it's 12 gold wheels, then I might as well make a trip. After quietly cursing himself for being so weak-willed, Leon nodded and agreed to the red-haired director's terms, then proactively asked, "Director, when does this exam start? And what's the exact content of the exam?" Seeing Leon, who had significantly increased his engagement and even took the initiative to inquire about the exam information, the red-haired director, delighted by her success, gave a sly smile in her heart before answering. "The exam will be held in the next few days, and at the latest won't be more than a week. The exact content hasn't been decided yet, and even if it were, they wouldn't tell me. After all, besides you, our branch has others participating this time. Telling me would be like helping them cheat. Someone else?" Upon hearing the red-haired director's words, Leon, somewhat curious, asked further, "Who is it? Is Senior Jerry planning to take the Level 1 exam again?" "It's not Jerry, it's Amin." The red-haired director shook her head. "Although Jerry really wants to go before signing up with me, he asked Tom to roll the dice for him, and they found he had a 66% chance of encountering questions he's not good at. You know, Tom's dice typically only show a maximum probability of 66%. In reality, the chances are even higher. Jerry felt his chances of passing weren't great, so he decided not to go. Oh my, they even consider divination before exams. Choosing strategies between solving problems and cheating seems to be a ritual for them. Upon hearing this, Leon couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth, and asked, "What about me then? You must have planned for me to take the exam. Did Senior Tom roll the dice for me? Probably rolled them?" The red-haired director hesitated for a moment upon hearing this, then uncertainly said, "He didn't throw the dice directly but instead cupped them in his hands, mumbled a few words, and then told me that you had a 99% chance of encountering favorable questions. If even you can't pass the exam this time, then no one can." That sounds pretty good." After nodding in reassurance, Leon continued to inquire, "What about Senior Amin? What happened after she rolled? Is she guaranteed to pass?" Amin didn't roll the dice. Her goal was never to pass the exam. The red-haired director sighed, somewhat resignedly. She applied to participate in this exam not to be promoted to a Level 1 cleaner, but because she recently developed a few new drugs and wanted to test their efficacy. And for her, there's no better test subject than the 400 cleaners participating in the exam. Attending the exam just to test drugs? This makes it hard to entirely blame others for spreading rumors about our Virgin Branch's reputation being so bad. Rest assured, Amin knows what she's doing. The red-haired director reassured. Her abnormal object ability is incredibly valuable, allowing those who take her medicine to immediately rid themselves of negative states, rapidly heal old injuries, and even greatly mend mental health, soothing the minds of cleaners distorted by abnormal objects. In summary, for cleaners who mostly suffer from various old injuries and have very unstable mental states, aside from inevitable diarrhea, being tested on by her actually could be considered a good thing. So, originally wild, aggressive battle maniacs would start to smile peacefully and suddenly have diarrhea after taking her medicine? I mean, their old injuries might be healed, but they could socially die from embarrassment. It's fine. After nodding with a slight toothache, Leon asked one final question with a dark face. Who are my targets for face slapping? I'll assess the situation at the time. If they really aren't anything decent, I'll introduce them to Senior Amin. You're so bad I really like it. After looking at Leon with exceptional appreciation, the red-haired director nodded smilingly. Very good, Amin will definitely be very pleased to hear this. As for specific face-slapping targets, prioritize those with the Scorpio branch's mark on them. Most of those who quit from our side went there, leaving quite a few from the Libra and Aries branches who can also be dealt with. But just those who left aren't your main targets. Focus on those who not only left but also came back to step on us, cooperated in spreading false rumors, and defamed our Virgin branch. Feed them all to Amin. Recently, there have been both large and small issues happening, so I can't conveniently drink, and I've saved up my salary from the branch. For every turncoat you feed to Amin, I'll give you a 5 gold wheel bonus. Goodness, it seems a large number of cleaners from the Virgin branch jumped ship back then, causing the Virgin branch to almost go bankrupt and spreading her bad reputation everywhere. This must have really aggrieved the director. Seeing the squinting red-haired director in front of him, who was clearly still holding a grudge, Leon thought for a moment and agreed. It's not because of the high reward of 5 gold wheels per person, but rather because since joining the Virgin branch, the director has treated him really well. If he needed money, she gave money. If he needed people, she gave people. If he needed abnormal objects, she provided them. She often bought him drinks after work, came to his rescue in times of danger, took on pressure from above, and cleaned up his messes unconditionally. In essence, she couldn't have been more considerate. Having such a good leader, he had to support her slightly even if she was not in the right. Moreover, this time she was right, and if he didn't help her vent her frustration, it would be somewhat disloyal. All right, I'll take this bounty and ensure the director has a good time. After promising to vent the red-haired director's frustration, Leon said, Then I'll wait at home. Whenever the promotion assessment is about to start, just give me a shout. After nodding with a look of pleasure, the red-haired director took a sip of strong tea from her bottle, seemingly remembering something, and began to notify Leon. By the way, how is your relationship with Philia? Why not let her move into happy apartment? My relationship with her is passable, I suppose. Recalling Philia's previous comments full of reluctance to team up with him, Leon couldn't help but click his tongue internally and then replied with a slight annoyance. Happy apartment isn't mine to open. If she's willing to move in, that's fine. Although I don't mind her moving in, she probably cares very much about being my neighbor. Although Leon's abilities are strong, he's still a bit young. Seeing Leon's slightly awkward expression, the red-haired director couldn't help but shake her head and then reminded him with a smile. Philia is the last bloodline of the Kralik Kingdom and is highly valued by the General Bureau. Before she gets married and has children, they will definitely use the General Bureau's sundial disk and moon phase mirror to pinpoint her location and monitor her status 24/7. If she stays in our branch, even with me, the Yellow Road director in charge, her residence will certainly be heavily protected by the Bureau and constantly guarded against enemies like the Slaughter King Association. You understand what I mean, right? Oh? I understand, Wah. Oh, I understand. After exchanging a look with the red-haired director, Leon thought for a moment, and his expression suddenly showed a slight joy. If Philea moves into Happy Apartment, then his siblings can benefit from the Cleanup Bureau's security. Considering the matter of Aquarius, he's already disrupted 3 actions of the Slaughter King Association, pretty much becoming sworn enemies. Who knows if they will want revenge or try to capture his weaknesses? With Philea being the last of the Kraliks, she would certainly receive the highest level of protection. If Anna and the others living in Happy Apartment could also benefit from the Bureau's 24/7 protection, then he wouldn't have to worry at all. Considering it carefully, Philea wouldn't be allowed to leave the royal capital, and even with exceptional cleaner talent, her tasks would be limited. Yet, the director has made such efforts to keep her. Does it mean, "I understand, thank you, director. No thanks needed. When you have time, just help me with a few small tasks." Smiling at Leon, who showed a grateful expression, the red-haired director opened her drawer, took out a stack of forms, and handed them over. These are application forms of abnormal object holders from the Renegade Group. During your month-long business trip, the Bureau dispatched investigators to examine each of their situations. As their referral to join the Virgin Branch, you need to sign on them. Okay. And there's this. After handing Leon the pen, the red-haired director rummaged through her drawer and pulled out a few more forms. These are abnormal object holders Jerry discovered and those applying to join our Virgin Branch this year, with potential to become cleaners. You need to review and see if they're suitable to join our branch. Looking at Leon, who received the forms with a solemn face, the red-haired director confessed apologetically. "Leon, you've just returned from a business trip in Kralik, and I should let you take a long vacation to rest well, not bother you with these things. But after the demonic Soul Abyss incident, the kingdom was polluted by the forcibly descended King of Nightmares, and the number of erupted abnormal events tripled. The Bureau is truly short-handed recently, plus that stupid sheep's ability to observe souls is indeed suitable for this, so I had to trouble you once more." "It's not a bother." Leon shook his head and said, "I'm on vacation, which doesn't mean I won't go out. After sending Melanie and the others to school each day, I'll take the time to find and check on these people. Actually, it won't take much time. By the way, Director, if we're really short-handed recently, too busy to cope, I can actually come back to help. Anyway, I'm soon to participate in the assessment. Resting a few more days together with the vacation won't make a difference." "Oh no, that really makes a difference." Upon hearing Leon's sincere offer to temporarily forgo his vacation and come back to help, the red-haired director felt a tightness in her chest like a strong grip on her heart. "Just enjoy your vacation. Don't come back early to work." With Leon's misfortune and that abnormal disaster-attracting ability, if he were really to come back and help, the missions that are at most first-level incidents would end up all escalating to 3 or 4 levels, likely needing 2 divine spirits to calm them down. Your real purpose should be to work with bureaus ranked higher than ours, causing trouble. Handling abnormal events happening in others' jurisdictions. These small tasks, originally solvable by anyone, should be left to the rookies in the Bureau. No need, just enjoy your vacation. Just assess the people on the list when you get the chance. Without hesitation, the red-haired director declined Leon's kind offer, took a sip of tea to steady her mood, and explained with a calm face. "You also know that shortly after the King of Nightmares descended, we eliminated him. So, although the scope of pollution is high, the degree is generally shallow. Hence, the recently erupted abnormal events are small in scale and low in danger. What the Bureau lacks now is not just you, but a large number of third-level cleaners who can run across the kingdom to investigate and deal with low-danger events. You only need to examine the people on the list, select a few qualified ones for trial work, and it's a big help to us." "All right, I'll check them as soon as possible." Without noticing the red-haired director's thoughts, Leon agreed to her request and, after glancing toward the office door, asked somewhat awkwardly, "By the way, Director, Philea seems a bit resistant to interacting with me. How should we proceed to get her to move to Happy Apartment and become my neighbor?" "What Happy Apartment? Isn't that the designated employee dormitory of our Virgin Branch? Royal Capital, Old Town, Bridge Street, inside a 2-person carriage heading to Happy Apartment. Actually, I don't dislike you. After enduring an entire journey of silence with Leon, the green-eyed girl, unable to bear the awkward atmosphere anymore, avoided Leon's gaze, looking out the window guiltily and said, "Although you might not believe it, the reason I did this is simply because I didn't want my issues to hinder your personal development. You know as well, my situation is quite special, so it's hard for me to leave the royal capital. If I form a team with you, you'll lack a reliable teammate when you're on assignments. Besides, my abilities aren't great, while you are already stronger than most level 1 cleaners. Teaming up with a newbie like me would really hold you back. I feel like I've been resented." Seeing Leon still sitting across from her, upright and silent the whole time, the anxious green-eyed girl hesitantly tested the waters. Mr. Leon, don't you have anything to say?" "Yes." After the carriage stopped steadily at the entrance of Happy Apartment, Leon raised his hand to push open the carriage door for her, then said expressionlessly, "Share the fare. This trip was not only to bring me home but also to show you the staff dormitory, so you need to pay half." "Huh." The green-eyed girl was momentarily stunned by the words, then awkwardly said, "Well, I don't have any money on me right now, so 1.5 copper wheels, pay me back next week." "All right." Leon lifted her off the carriage by her collar. After standing by the roadside waiting for him to pay the fare, the green-eyed girl followed beside Leon, cautiously entering the first-floor lobby of Happy Apartment. Meanwhile, the administrator lady with a head full of white curls was sitting hunched over in the duty room in the lobby, wearing a brand-new pair of reading glasses, knitting the never-ending yarn. Upon hearing 2 footsteps, the administrator lady looked up, adjusted her reading glasses, glanced at Leon, and then showed a kind smile. "Back from a business trip?" "Yeah. Took a cruise into the royal capital this morning. Just submitted the report at the bureau and came back." Facing the kind administrator lady, Leon's previously stern face instantly softened, and he fished out a delicately packaged small bag from the mirror world, handing it over through the small window of the duty room. "Aunt Mary, I came across this during the business trip. Consider it a little gift." "You child." Seeing the luxurious label of Advanced Fine Spun Wool Yarn on the gift bag, the administrator lady immediately beamed with joy but couldn't help but scold. "Spending money recklessly again. This thing doesn't look cheap at all. You've only been working for a few months and have 2 kids in school at home. There'll be plenty of places needing money, so save where you can." I am saving. After casually responding twice, Leon pulled out another metal small box, handing it over with a cheerful introduction. "Aunt Mary, this is a gardening tool maintenance kit I bought in Kralik Kingdom, which includes a sharpening stone, anti-corrosion grease, rust-removing sandpaper, and a washable towel. Uncle John should like it." "Oh, you child." Looking at this similarly expensive gardening tool maintenance kit, the administrator lady couldn't help but shake her head helplessly, knowing that even if she refused it, Leon would use the excuse that it couldn't be returned abroad. So, she simply accepted the maintenance kit and took a cloth bag from under the table. "Here, take this back." "What is this?" "Wool gloves knitted for your 2 little rascals with the yarn you gave last time." Seeing Leon's slightly surprised expression, the administrator lady smiled and said, "Kids at that age grow fast, so I made them a bit larger, just to ensure they can still use them next year. Don't think they don't fit." "Gloves knitted by Aunt Mary?" Seeing the administrator's kind smile, Leon's eyebrows slightly raised. Then he reached his fingers into the bag, gently touching the delicate pattern knitted on the wool gloves. Name: Intricate Wool Protective Gloves. Miracle: Protection. Appearance: a pair of neatly textured, tightly stitched, scratch-resistant, durable, and highly warm children's wool gloves. Although the knitting technique is simple and plain, they are extremely fine and emit a peculiar warm feeling. Ability: Malice Vanquisher, Accident Avoidance. Cost: a special glove only wearable by Melanie Lane. The user must remember to greet the administrator grandma on the first floor before heading out in the morning, but it's best not to always accept her fruit-hard candies, or you might face strict scolding from Anna Lane. File. An abnormal object weaving enthusiast with 135 years of weaving experience, using wool yarn gifted by food god culprit, overthrower, prince of traveling thrush, dream realm destroyer, Deathbringer's nightmare, level 3 cleaner of Virgin Branch Leon Lane, meticulously knitted this pair of children's gloves. Apart from the abnormal object's effect of warding off accidents and deterring malicious targets, if the user suffers unjust bullying, it's very likely that a muscular old man named John, wielding a 1-meter-long gardening shear, will come for revenge. Evaluation. I actually wanted to beat her up, but for some reason, before my fist could rise, a burly old man standing 1.89 meters emerged from the bushes by the roadside. This old man said nothing, just stared at me intently with his eyes, then raised a shear with a blade polished to a shine and lubricated with anti-corrosion grease. Contamination value, 0.1. Wow, this is practically the personal single version of a happy apartment protection device. With William and the two wielding this, ordinary level 3 cleaners won't stand a chance. Since they were specifically knitted for them, I'll gladly accept. Taking in this precious gift for the two little ones, Leon looked at the administrator's spirit, which seemed much stronger than before, and cheerfully said, "Aunt Mary, you seem much better than the last time we met." "Really?" Putting down the yarn, touching her cheeks, the administrator happily said, "Maybe it's because I've been busy again? After being idle for a long time, once you get busy, your complexion improves. By the way, have you seen the new Poverty Relief Institute at the back on your way back?" "I have. After the funds were allocated, it was built really fast." Leon nodded in response and replied with a smile. "Besides the new Poverty Relief Institute, I also saw Uncle John. He was following the workers, laying pipes with a pipeline engineer badge hanging. Haha. That old man just can't sit still. He insists on lending a hand." After a few more cheerful exchanges, noticing the curious green-eyed girl trailing behind Leon, the administrator lady exclaimed, somewhat embarrassed, "Oh my, I was so busy chatting with you that I forgot to ask. Who is this child?" She was an orphan living at the charitable asylum. Although Leon wanted to tell the admin lady this excuse, considering it sounded a bit like hell, he decided to explain in a different way. "She's sort of a reserve member of our bureau. Came here with me to rent an apartment." "Oh, I see." Nodding in understanding, the admin lady frowned slightly and asked with some confusion, "This child looks 12 or 13. Does your bureau actually hire child labor?" "No, she's looked like this for the past 10 years. If you really calculate it, she should be around 23 or 24 this year." "Then how come she?" She had a major illness 10 years ago, so she's been like this ever since." "Illness 10 years ago, and hasn't changed since?" The admin lady was stunned for a moment and then whispered with some understanding, "Could it be that what's it called? Dwarfism?" "Oh yeah, that's the one." Reaching behind him and grabbing the green-eyed girl's hand, which was pincering the soft flesh of his waist, Leon continued to spin his story with an unfazed face. "It's genetic or something. I don't really understand this stuff. But basically, she just doesn't grow. Aunt Mary, Philea prefers peace and quiet. Could you arrange a room for her on the 6th floor?" "Oh, sure." The admin lady nodded, looked over the tenant book, and asked, "A room on the 6th floor? Quiet and not facing the street. There's only one left for a monthly rent of 12 silver wheel. Is that acceptable?" "Absolutely." After making the decision for the green-eyed girl, Leon turned back to Philea and explained, "Don't worry, I'm living here too. I'm familiar with Happy Apartment. The facilities might be a bit old, but it has everything you need and it's very clean." "Oh, Aunt Mary." At this point, Leon turned back around, a bit sheepishly. Philea's family suffered a disaster. Someone set fire to her home, burning all her savings, furniture, house, everything to ashes. So she doesn't have much money right now, and the rent might need to be delayed by half a month. "Oh dear. So that's what happened. No wonder you're looking for an apartment at such an odd time." After hearing about the dwarf girl situation, The admin lady couldn't help but sigh and sympathize deeply with Philea, who was both disabled and disaster-stricken. Then she kindly said, "No worries. I'll vouch for you, dear child. Just stay here. And let's not talk about delayed rent. You can start paying next month." "Tach, thank you." "Oh, no need to be so polite. Everyone has a hard time. If we can help each other, we should." The tag of afflicted with illness, suffered a disaster at home, impoverished, and hard survivor, matched with the delicate and cute green-eyed girl's appearance, seemingly triggered the admin lady's inherent compassion for the poor and weak. After helping Philea complete the check-in, she led Leon and her upstairs while soothing them with kind words. "Don't worry, child. Nothing in this world you can't get through. As long as we don't give up hope, the future will surely get better slowly. I'm always in the duty room. If you need any help, just speak up. Oh, by the way, do you have anyone else in your family?" I have an older brother. Does he have a place to stay? If not, he could come here too. There are still quite a few vacant rooms and the rent is cheap." Cough, cough. Clearing his throat forcefully, interrupting the admin lady, Leon whispered, "That fire I mentioned earlier, it was set by her brother himself." "Ah, this." Hearing Leon's words, the admin lady found it hard to hold back, then secretly turned around where the green-eyed girl couldn't see and mouthed, "Why though? Why would someone set fire to their own home?" Sigh. I don't understand what he was thinking either. Leon, while mouthing back, pointed to his head with his hand, then made a helpless expression on his face. Oh, so her brother has a problem with his head. Understanding Leon's hint, facing the ill-fated cute little girl behind her, the admin lady's sympathy index rose another level, whereas Philea, who witnessed all the communication between her and Leon, was already fuming. "You bastard pervert. You're the dwarf. Your brother has mental issues." The furious Philea had already thrown her fear of Leon to the wind, starting to follow the two up the stairs, struggling with her small legs and pinching Leon's thigh root forcefully with her hands. While Leon, successfully retaliating, paid no mind to her attacks, which were akin to tickling, continued to walk steadily, and when she got tired by the 5th floor, he picked her up and carried her directly to the 6th floor. "Here, this is the room I mentioned before." Watching Leon kindly helping his sick colleague behind him and Philea, who seemed a bit stubborn and unwilling to admit defeat, trying to get up the stairs on her own, the admin lady couldn't help but smile in satisfaction, then handed the key to Leon, a bit embarrassed. "Could you help introduce the rest to this kid? It seems someone just arrived on the 1st floor, and the old man isn't around. I need to go check it out first." "No problem. Leave it to me." Receiving the room key and watching as the admin lady hurried downstairs, Leon grasped the moment before the green-eyed girl erupted, handed her the keys, opened the room door, and tossed her inside. "You bastard! This is your room. Okay, I introduced everything I needed to. Remember to come to the bureau at 7 in the morning. See you." Done with what might be considered perfunctory introductions, but lacking even in that, Leon ignored the roaring from inside the room, directly using the black goat's sole vision, glanced at his own home. Empty. Well, at this time, William, Melanie, and little Ellie should still be at school. They'll probably be back in the afternoon, and since Anna isn't helping Aunt Mary, she's probably shopping. With her shopping habits, she probably wouldn't detour home after buying things but would go straight to Bridge Public School and wait outside to pick up William and the others on the way. So they'd likely come back together in 3 or 4 hours. If that's the case, maybe check out The Prospective Newbie? After calculating his free time, Leon didn't head home, but directly pulled out the forms given by the red-haired director in the hallway, checking through them one by one. Given 3.5 hours, he had to leave half an hour to tidy up, and factoring in the time to assess the newbie, he should ideally find a place close to Bridge Street, preferably reachable within an hour. Wait a minute, there's actually a resident of Happy Apartment on this checklist? About how to write the content of the next volume. I feel the outline arrangement is not quite perfect yet. Let me think it over for a day or two. The following is a small scene of notes. What a bother. Looking at the last 3 kids left in the classroom, and then glancing at the street outside where the rain was pouring down, the young female teacher of Bridge Public School asked somewhat helplessly. William, where is your family's servant? That's a difficult question to answer. William frowned as he heard the question, then paused from tracing the map of the northern principality and looked up seriously, saying, Teacher, if by servant you mean someone who takes care of household chores, then the closest we have to that in our house recently would be Melanie, who's had all her pocket money confiscated. That's not what I meant. The young female teacher was momentarily stunned, then reorganized her words with a patient smile. What I meant to ask is, since it's raining today, about what time the person responsible for picking you up from your house might arrive. Usually it's Anna who picks us up, but today she might be a little late. Melanie, who was flipping through an account book next to them, blinked her big eyes and answered, Whenever it rains, Grandpa John's leg hurts, and the top floor of the apartment leaks too. She probably has to help lay the waterproof tarp for Grandpa John before she can come to pick us up. What about Ellie? Ellie's mom is on a business trip, so she's temporarily staying at our place. Her mom can't come either. Is that so? Then we just have to keep waiting. After sighing in her heart, the female teacher had to accept the fact that she would be working overtime without pay today. But as a teacher at a top public school, she quickly adjusted her mood and, like she had done countless times in comforting other kids in the past, softly asked, What about playing a little game with the teacher while we wait for the rain to stop? Sure. Nodding steadily, William put down his pen and said with a hint of sympathy, If there's no one to pick you up, and you're afraid of being alone in the classroom, we don't mind keeping you company for a bit longer. Well, thank you so much for that. Amused yet grateful for William's kindness, the female teacher had a sudden idea. Looking at the three notorious first-grade troublemakers before her, she rummaged through the desk and found 3 shiny red apples, cheerfully suggesting, How about this? Whoever likes the teacher can take an apple. Does anyone like Ms. Lisa? I like. Mouth watering at the sight of apples rarely seen in early spring, Melanie's eyes lit up. She didn't hesitate to tilt her head with a sweet smile and grab one. Ms. Lisa is so generous. I like Ms. Lisa almost as much as Anna, about 22.3%. Thank you for liking me, Melanie. But how did you come up with such a precise percentage? I like Ms. Lisa too. Beside her, Ellie tugged at the wide-brimmed hat on her head. Because her little feet couldn't reach the ground while sitting on the chair, her toes unconsciously drew inward. Then, a bit shyly, she lowered her head and said, I don't know how much in percentage, but Ms. Lisa is very gentle and always kind to me. I like Ms. Lisa. Oh, my little Ellie angel. The teacher likes you too. Moved, Ms. Lisa picked up the red apple and placed it into Ellie's slightly flushing little hand. She was completely healed and looked expectantly at the silent William. Noticing the female teacher's gaze, William looked up at her for a moment before shaking his head with a small, tight-lipped expression. No thanks, I don't like Ms. Lisa. Why? Is it because Ms. Lisa isn't mature enough? No. Shaking his head slightly, William pointed at the last remaining apple, calmly saying, There are only 3 apples in total. If I also liked Ms. Lisa, what would you eat then? SSSS. After hurriedly returning to the first floor, the thin woman pacing outside the duty room, her face full of hesitation, was met with a puzzled inquiry from the administrator lady. Miss Layla? Shouldn't you be helping at Doug's restaurant now? Why are you back so early? I'm sorry. Upon hearing the inquiry from behind, the woman, around 26 or 7 years old, dressed in an old velvet dress, couldn't help but stiffen slightly and then turned around, her face embarrassed. I was just fired by the boss over there. Fired again? The administrator lady was slightly taken aback upon hearing this, then said with some helplessness, Miss Layla, if I remember correctly, this is the 3rd time you've been fired this week, right? I'm sorry, but I really didn't do it on purpose. Faced with the kind person who introduced her to 3 jobs, only to have them all messed up by her, The thin woman, covered in coffee stains, lowered her head and shamefully explained. This morning, when I was simmering borscht, the sour cream ran out, so I intended to fetch a new can from the storage room. However, as soon as I twisted the doorknob, I saw the head chef with Jenny, the waitress. They were doing that kind of thing? Then I lost my job, with a slightly odd expression on the administrator lady's face. The woman with delicate features covered her scalded arm and said with a bitter face, although I was startled and immediately assured them I didn't see anything and wouldn't say anything, Jenny still accidentally bumped into me while serving coffee to a customer in the afternoon. I supported the tray, but a whole pot of freshly brewed hot coffee poured directly over the customer's head, and then the head chef rushed out from the back kitchen shouting, accusing me of being clumsy and constantly messing up the ingredients. Doug's owner drove me back. I was wronged. The thin woman sobbed, her eyes reddening. I cherished this job, working more than 10 hours a day and completing twice as much work as others without stealing ingredients or anything of the sort, only packing leftover meals which were agreed upon previously. But the head chef framed me, and others didn't dare to speak up for me. He's just retaliating for me exposing his affair with Jenny. I really didn't steal anything. Please believe me. Layla, don't rush. Looking at the thin woman who seemed almost on the brink of collapse, the administrator lady couldn't help but comfort her warmly, then helplessly said, I understand what kind of person you are. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep introducing jobs to you. But why do you keep encountering such things? Recalling the woman's unlucky experiences over the past 2 weeks, the administrator lady said with a peculiar expression, you were doing well cooking for the engineering team, but you casually used scrap paper to pad the soup pot, only to find it was a fake invoice from the foreman. Before that, at the hotel as a waitress, you slipped while cleaning a room, accidentally crashing into the adjacent suite, witnessing the owner bribing a city councilor, and now you've exposed the head chef and waitress doing that kind of thing. Isn't this a bit too coincidental? I don't know what's going on either. The thin woman wiped her tears and said, I've always been unlucky since childhood, constantly discovering things people want to keep hidden. At home, I caught my stepmother having an affair with the neighbor. At school, I saw the principal accepting bribes. Even while working as a maid at Ryan Manor, I stumbled upon, in short, it's never intentional, and I don't dare to expose anyone. I just want to find a job to support myself and my brother. But why is it always so hard to live properly? Sigh. Seeing the woman recounting her series of unlucky experiences, ending with a collapse into tears, the administrator lady couldn't help but feel both amused and sorrowful. Cry, you'll feel better after letting it out. Taking out a handkerchief, she approached the thin woman to tend to her scalded arm, gently patting her back and comforting warmly. These indeed aren't your fault. Don't rush. I'll try to figure something out to introduce another job to you. Don't worry. People aren't always this unlucky. Hard to say. She might continue to be this unlucky. Standing in the stairwell on the second floor, after hearing the entire conversation between the administrator lady and Miss Layla, Leon pondered as he looked at the review form in his hand. Name: Layla Roberts. Charges: espionage, leaking kingdom secrets, punishment, capture and interrogation followed by secret execution by hanging. File: suspected a spy infiltrating from another country. Her presence has repeatedly appeared in various important venues over the last 6 years, causing numerous confidential documents and evidence to go missing. The Secret Investigation Bureau surveyed 29 locations, checking a total of 571 entries on personnel lists, tracing for 19 months before pinpointing this deeply hidden spy. Some missing confidential documents and evidence were discovered in her apartment, listed as follows. The secret control document on auxiliary food market price signed privately with the Kingdom of Orleson, carefully folded and placed under a wobbly dining table. The 17-point mutual defense agreement fragments signed with the secret envoy of the Black Forest Duchy, disguised as book covers, were trimmed and hidden inside a children's storybook. the ceremonial porcelain exchanged during a clandestine alliance between the former Duke Ryan and the Coco family, agreeing to jointly resist the royal family, now chipped and placed with drooping wild lilies on the apartment's windowsill. Dispute. This person's file was investigated by Deputy Director Isha Hill of the Secret Investigation Bureau, questioning her espionage charges, reported under suspected Special Situation Number 3, and handed over to the Police Department's Cleanup Bureau for review. Cleanup Bureau Verification Opinion. My verification opinion is, the policewoman is right. This person indeed carries an abnormal object. Looking at the archives listing a long string of confidential documents and evidence, and their very domestic handling results, Leon couldn't help but display a peculiar expression similar to that of the administrator lady. Generally speaking, it's hard to imagine so many coincidences occurring, so Miss Layla likely possesses an abnormal object related to exposing secrets, making her more prone to uncovering things others wish to keep hidden. As for those secret documents she took, if my guess is correct, she's probably lived quite impoverished, developing a habit of thrift similar to mine, repurposing discarded materials. Perhaps she's illiterate or only partially literate, which led her to inadvertently accumulate such a pile of critical items. Take, for example, that ceremonial porcelain from the Ryan family. It might have been unintentionally broken by other servants or someone, secretly discarded, spotted by her, collected and brought home to use as a vase, confirmed as an abnormal object holder. Spreading the review form on the staircase railing, Leon wrote down the preliminary judgment with a charcoal pencil, deep in thought. It's true Miss Layla possesses an abnormal object and fully meets the Bureau's recruitment criteria, but now the question is whether someone like her is suited for the cleaner position? Through the sole vision of the black goat, after observing the essence of the thin woman's soul, Leon couldn't help but show a hesitant expression. From the perspective of abnormal object abilities alone, Miss Layla's ability is actually quite outstanding. After all, in the work of a cleaner, intelligence and information are extremely important. As long as the difference in contamination value between the two sides does not reach an overwhelming level, some level 3 cleaners with targeted abilities still have the possibility of toppling a level 1 cleaner. But the problem is that the cleaner's work is not just about investigation. When dealing with various abnormal events, it's inevitably going to encounter some crazy opponents, so there is actually quite a high requirement for courage. And this Miss Layla, her soul may be kind, but her personality is somewhat overly timid, even inferior to the average person. I fear that if someone just shouted at her, she'd run away with her head in her arms. If she became a cleaner and encountered an opponent like an obsessive maniac, a killer, or a fanatic, probably the other party wouldn't even need to speak. One glance and she'd already be weak at the knees. Better have some contact first to see what her situation really is, then ask the director tomorrow. If she truly is not suitable to be a cleaner, think of a way to arrange a more stable job for her, to prevent her from getting randomly involved in any kingdom secrets. After pondering for a moment, Leon collected the assessment form into the mirror world, stepped down from the second floor and called out, "Aunt Mary." "Leon? You came down so quickly." "Yeah, Philea only looks like a child, but she's actually an adult, so she doesn't need much of my help." After casually responding, Leon turned his head towards the thin woman, whose eyes were puffy from crying, and inquired as if unaware, "And this is?" This is a tenant of our apartment, Miss Layla from the room on the very edge of the 3rd floor. She's been having some trouble recently, and I'm comforting her." After briefly introducing the situation of the thin woman, the administrator lady seemed to remember something, and with a look of expectation, she inquired, "Leon, I can assure you, Layla is definitely not a bad person and works very hard. So if it's convenient, could you help her find a job?" "Sure, we're just hiring." Leon was here precisely for this reason, and even if Miss Layla wasn't suitable for being a cleaner, simply to prevent her abnormal object from causing trouble, he would definitely find her a job. The only question was whether or not it would be as a cleaner. Naturally, there was no reason to refuse at this moment. In the thin woman's expression of great relief, Leon extended his right hand to her, smiling gently. "I'm called Leon. currently working at the police department, barely counts as a policeman. Nice to meet you. Ah. Faced with Leon's somewhat formal gesture, the thin woman was obviously startled, immediately wiping her hands on her skirt, and timidly shook hands with Leon, somewhat stammering. I'm called Layla. I'm looking for a job. Thank you for your help. I will definitely work hard. ZZZ. Amidst a familiar buzz, information about the thin woman immediately appeared before Leon's eyes. Name: Miss Breakthrough Miracle Luck. Appearance: a human female with delicate and beautiful features, industrious and hardworking, often appearing in many places where she shouldn't, and fleeing in panic after causing a commotion. Ability: secret witness, perfect avoidance. Cost: none. File: an ordinary citizen of the old town in the royal capital of the Kingdom of Lutung, often in a state of unemployment because she frequently stumbles upon secrets she shouldn't know, was chased away by her bosses 69 times in 1 year, and was unemployed for a total of 115 days. Although she often discovers extremely dangerous secrets, because of her timid and harmless nature, she rarely raises others' vigilance. Thus, she has never suffered excessively harsh retaliation, merely being scolded and driven away. Evaluation: secret nemesis, scandal breaker, kill-on opening master. Wherever important events occur, you'll certainly find her footprints. Though she keeps a tight lip, not even the true God can keep a secret from her. The unlucky working person. Contamination value: 38. Wait, how much? Having read the description of Miss Breakthrough, Leon's expression involuntarily stiffened, with disbelief clearly evident in his eyes. 38 contamination points. The threshold for a level 1 cleaner is only 31 contamination points. So this woman who's even afraid of looking people in the eye is actually a wild level 1 cleaner? Feeling Leon's grip suddenly tighten, the thin woman was startled, instinctively withdrawing her hand, opening her swollen, crying eyes, and fearfully glancing at Leon. Then, ah! Upon clearly seeing Leon's face, the thin woman cried out in shock, retreating several steps with a look of sheer terror in her eyes. Seeing the obviously frightened expression on her face, Leon couldn't help but raise an eyebrow in surprise. Then, with some curiosity, he asked, "Have you seen me before?" Upon hearing Leon's inquiry, the thin woman's head shook like a rattle. No, I haven't seen you, liar." Gazing at her chaotic soul, realizing she was lying, Leon couldn't help but squint his eyes in contemplation. But no matter how hard he tried to recall, he couldn't remember having met her anywhere before. Miss Layla. After a moment of pondering, Leon switched to Master Performer, earnestly coaxing. "Though I don't know why you're unwilling to tell me the truth, there's something you can rest assured about. I'm not a bad person and I won't harm you just because you stumbled upon some secret. However, the department I work in is a special branch of the police department, and it has confidentiality requirements, so it's best if you tell me where you've seen me. Otherwise, I'll have no choice but to take you back for investigation. Apart from that, you'll also lose the opportunity to get a new job from me if you don't cooperate with the investigation. Miss Layla, I hope you will consider my proposal carefully." Layla. Not expecting things to develop this way, the administrator lady next to her panicked as well, quickly reaching out to pat the thin woman lightly, urging, "Come on, just tell him. Leon is a good kid. As long as you cooperate, he definitely won't harm you. But what? Do you think I would harm you? Well, all right then." Although her soul seemed as if it had been swept by a tornado, filled with resistance, under the administrator lady's persuasion, and the threat of investigation and losing her job, the thin woman finally tremblingly said, I worked at the Green Boots restaurant on Hanson Street. Saw you fighting with someone in the booth." The Green Boots restaurant on Hanson Street? Upon hearing this place name, Leon pondered for quite a while before recalling, at that time, he had taken the evidence from the water plant incident intending to publish it, and he had arranged to meet the editor-in-chief of the Daily News there. and the editor-in-chief of the Daily News tried to snatch the evidence from him, which angered him, using the power of the ram's head to teach him a harsh lesson. So she was present at that time too? Also, the Ryan family. After hesitantly glancing at Leon, the thin woman stammered. On the night the Ryan family incident happened, I was cleaning the exterior walls of the mansion and saw you jumping out of the Duke's bedroom on the 6th floor. Damn, you were there during the Ryan blood night too? And the Charles department store was having a big sale. I went to buy discounted food. Saw that scary giant toad. One night while I was sweeping the streets outside the palace walls, I saw the princess sticking her head out the window, calling your name, and sending you a flying kiss. About a month ago, when someone hired me to clean a cruise ship, I saw you on the dock, waiting for a man named Edward with a big suitcase. I saw you from a shoeshine stand outside Parliament Street. You dragged a big freckled boy out of the Parliament Hall and forced him into a carriage. Before, when I was cleaning the windows of the clock tower on Beso Street, I saw you with over 10 people in the private room of the restaurant across the street, changing into police uniforms and, all right, that's enough. After gesturing for her to stop, a somewhat overwhelmed Leon grasped the thin woman's hands tightly, his face twitching as he said, "Please, you must join our cleanup bureau. You were born for this. Next, I will announce the specific assessment process. Each branch director is responsible for informing the cleaners participating in the assessment." As Leon and the red-haired director exchanged glances, the moon-white pearl shell continued the announcement. This promotion assessment, aside from not requiring a physical presence, does not differ significantly from previous assessments and is still divided into 3 stages. The first stage is the basic innate talent test, the second stage is a random combat skills test, and the third stage is a large group mission execution, estimated to last a total of 72 to 120 hours. All participating cleaners must complete their current tasks ahead of time, prepare to sleep for 3 to 5 days, and after sunset today, relax their minds, enter the dream realm by taking the dream-playing colorful fungus. Someone responsible for guidance will then lead you to the assessment location, and those who are late will not be accommodated. Click! With a light sound of shell closure, the pearl shell, after finishing all notifications, swiftly closed and fell silent. After tossing the pearl shell back into his drawer, the corners of the red-haired director's mouth couldn't help but twitch upwards. He then leaned back in his chair with a face full of pleasure and took a sip of tea from a bottle with a cheerful smile. Not bad. This time the others can only compete for second place. Indeed, seeing the director in front of him looking completely assured of victory and brimming with confidence, Leon couldn't help but chuckle as he nodded, then glanced at a badge in his own panel. Nightmare of Nightmares. Utterly mad and completely reckless, for a brief moment of thrill, you would even destroy a world. You have become the most terrifying nightmare in the mind of the King of Nightmares. Equipped effect. You, who are deeply feared by the Lord of Nightmares, have risen above all nightmares, and no nightmare can affect you. Advancement path. None. Hidden trait. No need to equip as a notorious villain planning to utterly destroy the entire dream realm. Your infamy will echo throughout the dream realm. All dream realm creatures below true god level will experience immense fear just by sensing your presence. Although it's not great to celebrate too early, for someone who can completely immune to nightmares and also force fear onto all dream realm creatures below true god level, it indeed seems impossible to lose this time. Even if my innate talent is poor and I fail in combat, scoring the lowest in the first 2 test phases, when it comes to the third stage's actual task, the remaining participating cleaners combined are unlikely to match my efficiency. What's more, the absurdity is that on the Dream Realm side, there's still the Snow Maiden, my own nightmare. When the King of Nightmares hasn't revived yet, the 7 nightmare emissaries are the supreme rulers of the demonic soul abyss, possessing the power to command all nightmares within its domain. Even if I encounter something insurmountable with a single call, I can summon at least tens of thousands of nightmares to assist, and possibly more than one nightmare emissary. Even if the task is to hunt down a Dream Realm true god, this lineup could probably give it a try. Little Leon, apart from seriously taking the exam this time and taking back the first place that's already yours, don't forget to vent some for me. After knowing the exam location, the red-haired director, completely relieved, quickly finished the tea in the bottle and with a smiling face reminded, Scorpio, Libra, Aries, for every white-eyed wolf from these 3 branches you handle, I'll give you a subsidy of 5 gold wheels. Got it? I've noted them all. After responding verbally, upholding the principle of overlooking opponents strategically but taking them seriously tactically, Leon recalled the 3 stages described by the Pearl Shell, then opened up to ask, Director, the 3rd stage assessment's practical task is confidential. What about the first 2 assessment stages? Is there any information you can share with me in advance? Yes. Seeing that even with such a great advantage, Leon hadn't forgotten to gather intelligence, the red-haired director couldn't help but show a hint of appreciation in his eyes and smilingly said, The purpose of the first stage of the assessment is primarily to test your potential. In other words, it's about testing the speed at which you can enhance the Leon value and the limit of how much Leon value you can accommodate while maintaining relatively stable mentality. Given our current situation, we might use a mild high-level abnormal object, letting you participating in the assessment hold it one after another, then check Leon value fluctuations through soul state changes. Or directly use a special abnormal object, where those with higher Leon value or better mental stability can see more or get closer, climb higher, and so on. While it's unknown exactly how it will be assessed, it will likely be chosen from these few methods. So it means mainly testing cleaners' ability to endure contamination from abnormal objects? Upon hearing this from the red-haired director, Leon thought about his own situation and confidently nodded. Since joining the cleanup bureau, it's been only 3.5 months, but my current contamination value is already 17, and my mental state has been stable, well, basically stable. So in this first assessment, even if I don't get first place, the results definitely won't be bad. As for the second stage of the assessment, that's purely testing combat skills. Team fights, one-on-one, one against many are all possible, and the field conditions are quite random, mostly decided by drawing lots. At this point, the red-haired director paused slightly, then said with no small pride, When I took the assessment for level 1, I drew one-on-one for several small and medium-sized fields consecutively, and maintained an undefeated record, directly advancing to the finals without a scratch. Little Leon, you can't be worse than me. Advancing to the finals undefeated, without a scratch? After hearing the red-haired director's brag, Leon's eyebrows couldn't help but slightly raise. Got it, undefeated till the finals, yet didn't win in the finals, and 18-win total second place, right? SK. Sometimes having overly smart subordinates isn't a good thing either. Seeing the hint of understanding in Leon's eyes, the red-haired director's proud smile slightly tightened. Then, with some displeasure, he pouted and said, In any case, with your current level, in these 3 stages, you have to at least get 2 firsts for me, miss even 1 and buy me 10 bottles of good wine. Abigail, after subconsciously touching his neck, seeing the stubborn-looking girl in white and the 6 or 7 subordinates with dissatisfied expressions in front of him, the Scorpio director couldn't help but sigh and with a headache said, Although you all might not believe it, waiting for another 6 months before participating in the assessment is genuinely for your own good. Director, it's not that we don't believe you. Abigail, a girl in white, pursed her lips and then asked somewhat unhappily, But even if Leon from the Virgin Branch is as strong as you say, and does participate in this assessment, we surely can't get first place, but passing the assessment shouldn't be a problem, right? This isn't a question of passing or not. You haven't dealt with that guy. You have no idea how terrifying he really is. There are no small matters around him. A seemingly peaceful investigation task, and yet the noise escalated more and more. I blinked my eyes, and crack! The Kralik Kingdom was burned away. The 12 kingdoms became 11. And in that previous support action, originally we were just resisting the invasion of the demonic soul abyss, and driving the King of Nightmares back was supposed to be it. but ended up not only killing the King of Nightmares but half of the Dream Realm was gone too. If the King of Nightmares is humanity's nightmare, his impulsive destruction of half of the Dream Realm made him the collective nightmare of all Dream Realm creatures. You go to the Dream Realm with such a phenomenon, and you think you can come out unscathed? You don't understand the situation. Sigh. After rubbing his eyebrows, constrained by Leon's actions, which are mostly fourth-tier infiltration tasks, unable to disclose the situation, the Scorpio director had to take a detour to persuade. Really, don't go. Besides Leon's ridiculously strong personal strength that you can't match, there's also the issue with the Virgin Branch. That insidious woman bears grudges, and 4 of you defected from the Virgin Branch. From what I know of Olivia, she's definitely going to take the opportunity to vent some anger, letting that Leon. Director, we're not afraid. Upon hearing the Scorpio director mention the Virgin Branch, one of the cleaners stepped forward, furrowing his bushy brows with a hint of anger and said, "The assessment in the Dream Realm is just on consciousness. Even if Leon is strong, at most we'll run into him in the second assessment and he might beat us up, but it won't cause actual harm. And by the time the third practical assessment begins, the 8 of us will team up with 1 level 1 and 4 level 2 working together. Can he really take all of us out in one go?" I don't know if he can take all of you out, but according to Ruben and Frankie, Leon faced an assault from the Gemini Branch cleaners and took under 5 minutes to take out over 20 heads from the Gemini Branch. Among them were cleaners at about your level, 7 or 8 of them. All right then. Knowing that if he ordered them not to participate, they would ultimately choose to comply. But seeing these subordinates who, instead of being stubborn, seemed bent on getting punched, the Scorpio director sighed helplessly and waved his hand. "I've said what I can, and since you're determined to go, I won't stop you. But although the assessment is in the Dream Realm, at most you'll suffer a mental setback. No real danger will befall any of you. Still, I personally suggest you stay away from that Leon." "We're not. We'll be careful." Abigail interrupted the white-brow cleaner's remark, nodded, and accepted the Scorpio director's advice. Then raised her head slightly and said, "However, Director, we are seasoned cleaners with tens or hundreds of tasks under our belts. We've walked this far on the knife edge of life and death. We believe we won't be inferior to anyone." Great, not a single word got through. Seeing that after his earnest persuasion, not only did they not start backing down, but they stood tall and proud with eyes seemingly burning with a flame. The Scorpio director felt 3 parts gratified and 7 parts regretful, and sighed deeply. The gratification naturally lies in their commendable morale. For a cleaner, caution and rationality are important. Yet when faced with adversity, the courage to forge ahead undeterred by threats is the most crucial trait and what he admires the most. Although aside from Abigail, their aptitudes can only be described as decent, with such vibrant and striving spirits, as long as they don't accidentally perish on the task, their future achievements will undoubtedly be significant, and his Scorpio branch will likely boast several more level 1 cleaners. As for the regret, after this promotion assessment, being severely crushed by a real maniac, who knows how much of this rare spirit they would retain. "All right, go on then," Sai gazed with immense sorrow at his beloved subordinates and at the already setting sun in the sky. The Scorpio director had no choice but to reach inside his pocket, took out the dream-playing colorful fungus spraying rainbow-colored spores, and handed one to each of the 8 cleaners eager to participate, solemnly advising, "Please be safe. If you can't win, just concede. Don't push yourself too hard." Name: Dream Fungus Spore Strain, Dream Homing, Life of Bubble Shadow. Appearance: colorful mushroom the thickness of a thumb. The upper side of the cap is a constant flow of otherworldly hues, while the underside is a hazy night visible only when eyes are shut. If bitten after sunset, it will continuously erupt colorful spore clouds. Ability: Dream Homing, Life of Bubble Shadow. Cost: consumption leads to a hard-to-awaken slumber until Dream Homing ends, or Life of Bubble Shadow triggers. File: a special plant growing deep in Paradise Lost of the Dream Realm. Consuming the spore strain forcibly induces dreaming, granting immunity to all harm before waking. The mother plant can split spore strains and act as a beacon, drawing the minds of all those who've consumed spore strains. It also has the ability to erase all dreams. Since the goddess of pleasure dreams became trapped in her own dream, causing large-scale collapse in Paradise Lost, the remaining 30-plus dream-playing colorful fungus mother plants were all harvested and stored by the cleanup bureau without exception. Evaluation. Dinner had just begun when suddenly the chicken in the pot inexplicably kicked aside the adjacent colorful mushroom and donned overalls to play basketball. Contamination value? 2.5. What is all this random stuff? After reading the dream-playing colorful fungus explanation, confirming that the thing posed no danger, Leon lay on the second-floor sofa of the Virgin Branch, pulled the little blanket given by the director to cover his navel, and at the moment the sun set outside the window, tossed the colorful little mushroom into his mouth. Honestly, it does taste quite fresh. Might be good for chicken stew. This was Leon's last thought before closing his eyes, and when he next opened them, the world before him had completely changed. Above him was no longer the plaster ceiling of the second-floor meeting room, but instead a deep night sky like flowing ink, along with a dazzling galaxy composed of countless colorful bubbles. Numerous marvelous, picturesque, vividly colored dreams were encapsulated in bubbles of the same hue as the dream-playing colorful fungus, floating and sinking within the terrifically low galaxy overhead, seemingly within reach. Is this the dream realm? Looking up at the dazzling river of dreams overhead, Ryan couldn't help but marvel in his heart as he gazed at the vibrant bubbles flying freely within it. Even though, in terms of ranking, the dream realm is slightly inferior to worlds like Paradise, the realm of the dead, or the abyss, and the average strength of the true gods is not as high, the unique beauty of this world, both real and unreal, is unmatched across all realms. Just taking one look at the boundless, stunning river above, making this trip is definitely worthwhile. Wow! Is this the fragment of Paradise Lost? It's truly beautiful. While Ryan lifted his head, gazing dreamily at the river of dreams above, endless exclamations filled with wonder began to echo around, accompanied by numerous slightly blurred peculiar figures. Men and women, young and old, tall and short, furry or horned, birds and beasts. Though they fundamentally seemed human on closer inspection, each had some sort of peculiar non-human trait: wings sprouting from backs, horns atop heads, green faces and tusks, bodies covered in fur, altogether not entirely human. These strange-looking beings, could they be the reference cleaners? Counting the number of odd figures, and realizing there were roughly over 400, close to the total number of references, Ryan speculated on the identities of these peculiar shadows and promptly checked his own condition. He was wearing shoes instead of monster hooves. There were calluses from wear on his fingertips and palms, not thick pads or claws. His arms, with a few scars and tan lines, were all normal, bearing no strange scale armor, and even his coffee-stained cuffs remained unchanged. Strange, why am I still human? Not bad, not bad, these cleaners are quite good. They can all pass the preliminary test. While Ryan examined his body, puzzled as to why he hadn't turned into a monster, an elderly man with white hair and beard, sitting cross-legged within a colorful bubble in the river of dreams, observed the peculiar cleaners below with a satisfied expression. This time, the cleaners entering the dream realm were primarily those whose core consciousness was self-awareness, and the largest part of a person's consciousness is surely their self-perception. Under the influence of the dream realm, while their consciousness did undergo various degrees of transformation, they largely retained human forms, proving that despite the contamination from abnormal objects, they maintained clear self-awareness and decent mental stability. Just, not everyone seemed completely stable. Among the human group below, finding the six-winged angel, hooded Grim Reaper with a blood-stained scythe, and a golden humanoid excrement, the old man with a Pisces emblem featuring twin fish playing with dung spheres on his chest, sighed with resignation. Fine, let them pass too. These few cleaners, despite having deep levels of contamination, reaching full-body transformation, at least remained humanoid, proving they still considered themselves human, allowing them to pass the preliminary mental stability test. However, the scores must be lower. Narrowing his clear black and white eyes, the supervising Pisces director gazed at the six-winged angel, hooded Grim Reaper, and humanoid excrement, collecting their auras and specially marking them in his leather-bound notebook. Level 1, Scorpio Branch. The Purifier, Abigail Dark, Self-Perception. Angel, Full Body Transformation, Low Mental Stability. Level 1, Aries Branch. Slaughterer Mason Tobio Self-Perception. Grim Reaper, Full Body, Low. Level 2 Virgin Branch Poison Epidemic Pharmacist, Amian Bellet Self-Perception. Excrement, Vomit, Full Body, Low. Alright, these three are the rather special ones. After locating the names of the 3 cleaners on the registration forms, entering a score of 30 in the preliminary test results column, the Pisces director loosened his wrist slightly, then swiftly gathered all remaining candidates' auras, swiftly categorizing them into the leather-bound notebook, scribbling down their scores rapidly. Level 2 Taurus Branch, Ant Strength God Rudy Taz. Horns, Partial, High, 75 points. Level 3 Little Dog Branch, Shepherd Percy Jackson. Goat Eyes, Partial, Fairly High, 90 points. Level 3 Virgin Branch, Glutton God Leon Lane. Leon Lane? Upon seeing the name appearing in the leather-bound notebook, the Pisces director paused in surprise, then looked downward, noticing the young man standing beside the excrement person, chatting with her. Wasn't he the recent sensation, the Glutton God? With his level, why would he need to participate in such an assessment? Isn't this just bullying him for no reason? Olivia is really too much, simply... Wait a minute. Studying Ryan's profile, then maneuvering the colorful bubble he inhabited, changing positions repeatedly, noticing that from any angle, there was not the slightest divergence from human features. Overly normal Ryan caused the Pisces director to hiss in amazement. His mental stability, it's beyond just a high or low issue. How steadfast must one's self-awareness be to believe wholeheartedly that they are utterly normal even after devouring a true god whole? Amian Elder. Unaware of being repeatedly observed, Ryan stared at the figure in front of him that couldn't just be described as resembling a pile, but was literally a humanoid excrement, sighed speechlessly. Why are you like this? I don't know. After a slight shake of the head, Amian examined her intriguingly curvaceous form, causing people to instinctively maintain a respectful distance, and calmly replied, But I don't dislike these things. Maintaining this form is actually quite nice. Goodness. Observing Elder Amian calmly accepting the identity of excrement lady, even taking out a transparent vessel to start researching her situation, Ryan's mouth twitched slightly, temporarily at a loss for words, had to switch topics actively. Amian Elder, has the director told you our main objective this time? This I know. Upon hearing Ryan's inquiry, excrement lady paused her sampling movements, nodded with a smile. You help me take the first place. You find someone to test medicines for me, right? Seems, more or less.